Chapter 49-52. Great Emperor Xuanxu, don't let Emperor Yao succeed. The Yellow Emperor shouted anxiously. He transformed into an ancient river and rushed towards the center. They all knew that the goal of this trip was the blood-stained Taisui. Hong long long. Like four rivers, they shot towards the center. Wherever they passed, the Taisui could not stop them. With a loud roar, large amounts of Taisui turned into blood water. The blood-stained Taisui at the center gradually became anxious. However, it could not stop the four great emperors working together. Hong long long. The four great emperors attacked from different directions and completely destroyed the blood-stained Taisui. Endless light scattered, and a blood-red sarcoma appeared in the middle of the blood-stained Taisui. It was extremely disgusting and looked like a human brain. It was even pulsating. Pa! At the same time, a hand grabbed the sarcoma. She was delighted. She was Emperor Shun. A huge demonic eye appeared behind her, giving her the ability to pass through any universe. But at this moment, a sword came and chopped off Emperor Shun's arm, and the tumor fell to the ground. It was too fast. Few gods present could react in time. It was great Emperor Xuanxu. Ah, my hand. Ah. Emperor Shun let out a shrill voice. His beautiful face turned even more cunning and cunning. Great Emperor Xuanxu, over here. Ah. Not far away, Yellow Emperor shouted in delight. He had obtained the blood-stained Taisui, and he knew how precious this treasure was. It could greatly increase the innate talent of a godly embryo and allow ordinary gods to become giant universe gods, allowing them to enter a deeper realm. Retreat! Retreat! Great Emperor Xuanxu was also delighted. He shouted anxiously. The Yellow Emperor knew that he could not stay here for long. The longer he stayed, the more casualties there would be. He wanted to leave with his people. Suddenly, he felt that something was amiss. Because he did not notice Emperor Yao. This should not be. Something is wrong. Great Emperor Xuanxu, look at the blood-stained Taisui in your hand. Ah! Emperor Yellow roared. As for Emperor Xuanxu, he wanted to retreat, but after being reminded, he suddenly looked at the blood-colored Lingji in his palm. The Lingji was still there and even exuded a mysterious aura. However, after sensing it carefully, he realized that the blood-colored Lingji did not give off the feeling of a divine fetus. Oh no, this is fake. Great Emperor Xuanxu reacted. The Yellow Emperor's expression changed drastically. He looked around and saw Emperor Yao's shadow in the southeast corner of the valley. At this moment, he was attacking a Taisui. In the end, he blasted out endless blood. Emperor Yao dipped his right hand into the blood and flew towards the valley. Not good. The blood-stained Taisui already has intelligence and can distinguish between the real and the fake. The one we killed before was a fake. We've been fooled. The Yellow Emperor reacted and roared at everyone. Fake. It's actually fake. How did Emperor Yao know that it was fake? Great Emperor Xuanxu stared at the blood-colored Ganoderma in his hand and crushed it. He clenched his teeth and charged at Emperor Yao. Huh, Yellow Emperor, you really are idiots. This is the Sun God race's territory. You want to find the real blood-stained Taisui? Dream on. At this time, Emperor Shun transformed into a giant demonic eye. The most ancient demonic snake appeared and swept away a large number of gods. With her strength, she naturally couldn't stop the Yellow Emperor and Emperor Xuanxu. Her goal was to stop them, and that was enough. Damn it, hurry. Being stopped by Emperor Shun, the Yellow Emperor was furious. He ordered the gods in the distance to attack. Unfortunately, those gods couldn't stop Emperor Yao at all. Yellow Emperor, Great Emperor Xuanxu, farewell. Emperor Yao flew further and further out of the valley. He held the blood-stained Ganoderma in his hand like a victorious general. Rumble. The battle in the valley was still fierce, but everyone could only watch as Emperor Yao left. Their efforts were in vain. The Yellow Emperor and Great Emperor Xuanxu's eyes were red. They gritted their teeth. So many of their people had died, but the mantis stalked the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. However, at this time, several figures suddenly appeared above the valley. These people attacked one after another, erupting with powerful divine energy. The sudden change undoubtedly caught Emperor Yao off guard. Of course, if these people were ordinary gods, he wouldn't be afraid. However, among these attacks, there were a few that were obviously not weak. The will of the world, it's the people from Lei Gong's palace. After the collision, Emperor Yao's expression changed greatly. He felt the suppression of three wills of the world, forcing him to sink deeper into the valley. Whoosh! 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 At the same time, a large number of eyes appeared in the sky, erupting with endless divine light. It's ignore. Emperor Yao raised his head, resisting with the ruler in his hand. That's right, other than them, there's also me. The entire valley fell silent. All the gods, including the Yellow Emperor, Great Emperor Xuanxu, and even Emperor Shun, stared at the sky in disbelief. In their eyes, a giant suddenly appeared and stood at the side of the valley, causing the valley to sink down. The giant crouched down and punched down like a meteor. Lin Ling. Everyone roared as they looked at the giant. Emperor Yao was the most surprised. His eyes widened, unable to believe what he was seeing. Why would Lin Ling appear here? One had to know that the Tao Pagoda was vast and boundless. When Emperor Yao entered, he was actually looking for Lin Ling. However, it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. He thought that it would be difficult to meet Lin Ling in the Tao Pagoda. Lin Ling. Emperor Yao's eyes were bloodshot as he swung his ruler. Rumble. However, when the fist smashed down and collided with Emperor Yao's ruler, Emperor Yao felt an unprecedented pressure. He almost couldn't hold on to his ruler firmly. How is this possible? Emperor Yao roared. When did Lin Ling become so strong? He activated his divine power and swung his ruler, finally allowing Lin Ling's fist to pass by him and smash into the ground. Boom! The entire valley shook, and countless gods were sent flying. Such power! Everyone was shocked. Whether they knew Lin Ling or not, they were all shocked by Lin Ling's giant strength. Emperor Yao, on the other hand, managed to dodge Lin Ling's punch. However, when Lin Ling's punch landed on the ground, the powerful shockwave sent him flying. Come here. At this time, Lin Ling's other palm slapped down from the sky and smashed heavily on Emperor Yao's body. Puff! Emperor Yao spat out a mouthful of blood. He was seriously injured. Of course, compared to being injured, he was more shocked by Lin Ling's strength. How could he hurt him? It must be known that before entering the Tao Pagoda, Lin Ling's other domains were not worth mentioning except for the fairy-slaying sword. Blood-stained Taisui is mine. While Monarch Yao was heavily injured, Lin Ling's huge hand slammed onto Monarch Yao's palm and slapped away the blood-stained Taisui. Emperor Yao was already injured, and Lin Ling's palm hit him directly. As expected, the blood-stained Taisui in his hand fell to the ground. At the same time, Lin Ling took a deep breath and a powerful suction force burst out, sucking the blood-stained Taisui that fell from the sky. Lin Ling, damn you! Emperor Yao's expression was ferocious as he fell from the sky. He was so angry that he wanted to chop Lin Ling into pieces. Lin Ling. Above the valley, everyone was overjoyed. They had obtained the blood-stained Taisui. Great! Chapter 49-53. Lin Ling, retreat. Retreat. The Yellow Emperor shouted at Lin Ling. Then he notified the gods around the valley to activate the formations and destroy the valley. They had spent a long time setting up these formations, and they were powerful enough to destroy the entire valley. Lin Ling, don't run if you have the ability. Emperor Yao crashed to the ground, his divine essence and blood roiling in his body. He had suffered heavy injuries. He was both anxious and angry. He was anxious because Lin Ling actually had the strength to injure him. Truly, a scholar who had been away for 3 days must be looked at with new eyes. He was angry because the blood-stained Taisui he had obtained with great difficulty had been taken away by Lin Ling, and he was about to leave with a flick of his sleeves. How could he accept this? Lin Ling, retreat. The Yellow Emperor shouted at Lin Ling once more, then led the deities towards the top of the valley. Lin Ling, run. Above the valley, they were all shouting, especially Lei Gong, Yu Yu, and the others. They were anxious and worried. Lin Ling was still not leaving at this time. Was he going to wait until Emperor Yao and the others recovered? After all, once Emperor Yao and the others recovered, Lin Ling might not be able to leave even if he wanted to. Big brother Ling, don't be rash. Yu Yu was also reminding him. She knew of the great enmity between Lin Ling and Emperor Yao. She knew that Lin Ling wanted nothing more than to kill Emperor Yao, but Lin Ling couldn't do it at this time. However, Lin Ling was still in his giant form. He didn't move at all. He just looked down at Emperor Yao. He really did want to kill Emperor Yao. The great enmity between him and Emperor Yao was irreconcilable. Either you die, or I die. Ha ha ha, Lin Ling, do you still remember when you were in the Dao realm? Originally, you wanted to join my territory, but I chose a piece of trash and didn't want you. At that time, you must have been very angry. Also, when you were hiding in the Dao realm valley, I was the one who sent people to kill you. Plus, there was the fog sea. This battle is too much. Now that I'm seriously injured, this might be your chance. On the ground, Emperor Yao laughed loudly and was immensely pleased with himself. He had sensed Lin Ling's killing intent, but this was also an excellent opportunity for him. Lin Ling might be blinded by hatred, lose his reason, and be killed by him in the end. Although he was heavily injured, Emperor Shun was still present. In addition, this was the territory of the Sun God tribe. If he caused trouble here, he would definitely be wanted by the Sun God tribe. A 12-winged young god, even Emperor Yao had to give him some face. Moreover, although he was seriously injured, it did not mean that he could not kill Lin Ling. To him, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. After all, the Dao Pagoda was simply too big. If he missed this opportunity, he might not be able to find Lin Ling again. By the way, you saved your people at the foot of the Dao Realm God Mountain. You're incredible, but you were hunted down by my people for a few years. How does that feel? Ha! Emperor Shun also laughed and shouted, trying to provoke Lin Ling into losing his mind. If I remember correctly, in the meteorite starry sky, one of your friends was killed by us. I think her name was Ning Qingxin or something. What a pity, she was a little beauty. You didn't even get to enjoy the beauty's blessing before she died. Emperor Shun continued and looked at Emperor Yao. By the way, in the fog sea, it was us who announced that Lin Ling was the host of the world's will, which led to Lin Ling being taken away by the 3 divine gates of White Mountain. Sigh, we really didn't do it on purpose. Huh, yes, it was us. But Emperor Shun, don't talk about it anymore. You're making me sound like a sinner. Emperor Yao smiled and nodded, but he was already preparing a powerful killing move. He's the host of the world's will. Countless gods in the valley stared at Lin Ling. They had heard of Lin Ling's name before, but the Dao returning realm was too big. They had only heard of it, but they didn't expect to see it with their own eyes today. At this moment, the Yellow Emperor and the others had already reached the top of the valley and were about to activate the array. When they saw this scene, they were extremely anxious. Although they knew that Lin Ling and Emperor Yao had a deep grudge, now was not the time. Moreover, Lin Ling didn't have the means to kill Emperor Yao. Lin Ling, don't be fooled, leave quickly. The Yellow Emperor was as anxious as a fire. He kept shouting. In his impression, Lin Ling wasn't this impulsive. Lin Ling, the people of the solar divine race are coming. If the three of them join forces, we won't be able to stop them. Leave quickly. Even great Emperor Xuanxu was trying to dissuade him. He had met Lin Ling once in Firmament City. At that time, he wanted to subdue Lin Ling. However, from the looks of it, he had been too arrogant. Although Lin Ling was weaker than him, he wasn't that much weaker. Emperor Yao was also heavily injured by Lin Ling's punches. That was enough to prove everything. Lin Ling, let's go. He ignored them and tried to persuade him again. This made Emperor Yao and the others anxious. They were afraid that Lin Ling would really leave. Yellow Emperor, you guys go first. There's something I want to try. At this moment, Lin Ling finally spoke. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Sigh. The Yellow Emperor sighed softly. Great Emperor Xuanxu stomped his feet angrily. Try what? You were able to hurt Emperor Yao before because he wanted to leave. Now that he's wary, you can't do anything to him. He guessed that Lin Ling had been blinded by his temporary advantage. Ha ha ha, Lin Ling, let's fight. As for Emperor Yao, he was incomparably surprised. Lin Ling was fooled. This was an opportunity. Perhaps he could take back the bloodstained Taisui. It's time to settle the grudge between us. However, I didn't expect you to become so strong that you almost had the strength to kill me. Emperor Yao said calmly. In fact, Lin Ling could only injure him. It wasn't that easy to kill him. He said those words to give Lin Ling a little hope. You're right. Lin Ling was like a god with his head and feet on the ground. Emperor Yao grinned and said, then come at me. He had secretly informed Emperor Shun to attack at the same time. They had to kill Lin Ling no matter what. He even had a thought. Even if he didn't want to stain the Taisui, he had to kill Lin Ling. Lin Ling was worth the price. After all, in such a short time, Lin Ling already had the strength to injure him. If given more time, Lin Ling would definitely surpass him. However, he wasn't surprised by Lin Ling's achievement because Lin Ling was the will of the world. Emperor Yao, Lin Ling is the host of the will of the world. He is immortal. Be careful. Emperor Shun reminded him secretly. Don't worry. As far as I know, Lin Ling has already offended the Netherworld. If he is killed by me and reincarnated, the Netherworld will definitely not let Lin Ling get what he wants. Once Lin Ling dies, all his strength will be taken away and he will have to start all over again. He won't be a match for the Netherworld. Emperor Yao said secretly. The two of them seemed to be able to kill Lin Ling. At this time, Lin Ling floated up like a giant overlooking the valley. His huge figure seemed to be bigger than the valley. Emperor Yao, our grudge can be traced back thousands of years. Chapter 49-54. Emperor Yao was silent, but he sensed a large number of solar gods rushing over. Among them were the 12-winged solar gods. At this time, he finally relaxed. There was no need to pretend anymore. Yes, that's what I thought too. In fact, when I found out that you killed Emperor Ziwei and that you're the host body of the world's consciousness, I knew that you were a great threat to me. The Shenong ruler in Emperor Yao's hand emitted powerful divine energy that reached the level of 50 billion. Moreover, his body was protected by divine light, as if he was the most ancient human being, purple chi from the east. No other divine emperor could compare to the light emitted from his body. Do you really think you can defeat me? Emperor Yao snorted coldly. I forgot to tell you that I have the Shenong ruler. To a certain extent, I'm immortal because the Shenong ruler has tasted hundreds of ancient herbs. On my body, hundreds of ancient herbs have gathered. Do you know why I said so much to you before? That's because I was afraid that you would run away. Emperor Yao even revealed the reason why he had bewitched Lin Ling. I know. Lin Ling nodded. Many people were shocked, including the Yellow Emperor and the others. They all thought that Lin Ling had been blinded by hatred. I don't even know if I can kill you. Lin Ling said again. Even he himself didn't know how powerful his strongest trump card was. Ha ha ha, then why did you stay? Emperor Yao couldn't help but laugh. The Yellow Emperor and the others sighed even more. Lin Ling didn't have 100% confidence, or even 70% confidence. Why bother? Because there's something in my heart that I have to vent. Take this. Lin Ling said coldly, pointing his finger at the valley. Ha ha ha, even your fist can't kill me. It can only injure me, let alone your finger. Emperor Yao's eyes turned even colder. He raised the Shinnom ruler in his hand and released endless divine light. Whoosh! 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 This was the sound of ruler light tearing apart the void. It was too sharp, too incisive, unstoppable. The ruler pointed to the sky, illuminating the entire valley. At the edge of the valley, countless gods felt a chill run down their spines. Although they already knew that Emperor Yao was not to be underestimated, only when Emperor Yao unleashed his full strength did they realize how terrifying he was. This was a chilling light that could intimidate the world. Kill! In the valley, Emperor Yao's people were roaring. They didn't move and watched as Emperor Yao killed Lin Ling. Emperor Shun sneered and prepared to make his move. He would not allow Lin Ling to escape this calamity. However, the finger in the sky still didn't stop. At first, it was extremely ordinary, like the finger of a giant, but when it descended into the valley, the aura began to change, becoming that ancient, that dazzling. Endless light appeared, and it was even more dazzling than the Shinnom ruler. A finger that seemed to be able to split the heavens and earth. What? Within the valley, countless deities roared. The pressure increased greatly, and it was as if they were witnessing the collapse of the heavens and the earth. Above the valley, Yellow Emperor and the others were also roaring. What kind of power was this? Even Zhuanshu Great Emperor felt a chill run down his spine. It was as if he was witnessing a divine ability from an era even older than them. Everyone's breathing was suppressed to the point of stopping. What kind of divine ability is this? Emperor Yao was still holding the Shinnom ruler, but the ruler was trembling. It was as if he had encountered a natural enemy. His expression changed greatly, and his heart trembled. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. Before, he was confident because although Lin Ling's methods were powerful, they could only injure him. He felt that Lin Ling was a little weaker than him, and that little bit was enough for him to turn the tables. However, Lin Ling still had divine abilities. I don't know what divine ability it is, so I wanted to ask for your guidance. A majestic voice floated out from Lin Ling's mouth. If he knew that this finger could kill Emperor Yao, he wouldn't have hesitated and attacked directly. Ah! Emperor Yao screamed. The Shinnom ruler in his hand not only trembled, but also began to crack. In the sky, the giant finger covered the sun and blocked everything. The gods in the valley were all shocked. They wanted to run, but they found that the world was sealed. There was only one finger. Lin Ling. Emperor Yao watched as the finger suppressed him. It was as if he saw a giant rock slowly crushing him. He was helpless. Ah ah ah. He could only scream. He could only helplessly resist. Emperor Shun's face was pale. Not only did he not dare to help, he was also looking for a chance to escape. Rumble. When the giant finger pressed down, the valley collapsed. Dust rose into the sky, and a giant rotten rock fell from the sky, sealing the valley. This rotten rock was also the largest one so far. It was thousands of miles wide, like the end of the world. Rumble. When it was sealed in the valley, countless gods died. Dead, I feel that Emperor Yao's aura has disappeared. Yellow Emperor suddenly said. His voice was very soft, but it was like a strange wind that blew into everyone's heart. Dead. One of the 5 emperors had died in the second level of the Dao Pagoda, killed by Lin Ling. No one had expected such an outcome. It was beyond imagination, a big surprise. Besides Emperor Yao, most of the people he had brought were also dead. Emperor Shun's fate was unknown. The power of one finger. Terrifying. Emperor Xuanxu's body trembled. Fortunately, he had joined the Yellow Emperor's camp. Otherwise, that finger would have been his fate. With the strength to kill Emperor Yao, this Lin Ling was simply an ancient emperor. I am Lin Ling. At this time, Lin Ling recovered his body and floated in the air. He looked coldly at the valley and shouted crazily. He had not expected that finger to be so terrifying. After killing Emperor Yao, there was only endless pleasure in his heart. The knot in his heart was quietly resolved. His fighting spirit surged and swept through the ancient times. This guy. Lei Gong and the others smiled bitterly. They had been worried at first, but now they were relieved. They stared at the young man, their smiles even more excited. After all, they had fought side by side with Lin Ling. They had escaped Emperor Yao's pursuit several times and killed countless of his gods. Now, seeing Lin Ling come from the 9 states and finally kill an ancient emperor, they felt proud, honored, and even more proud. This was a legend. Lin Ling, let's go. At this time, the Yellow Emperor shouted to Lin Ling. Lin Ling nodded. He had also sensed that a large number of experts were coming from afar. Most of them were gods of the Solar Divine tribe. They immediately flew into the distance. Before long, a large number of gods appeared at the side of the valley. They all looked at the valley in shock, while the 12-winged Yang God looked into the distance with a complicated expression. 12-winged Yang God. At this time, a dozen figures flew over from the side of the valley, all of them looking extremely wretched. The one in the lead was Emperor Shun. At this moment, she felt a lingering fear. If she had not used all her strength to create a gap, she would have been dead. I know what happened. That Lin Ling is our ally. Chapter 49-55. Quick, chase after them. Chase. Emperor Shun grimaced at the thought of the treasure being stolen and Emperor Yao's death. The 12-winged Yang God looked into the distance and suddenly shook his head. We can't catch up. There's a powerful array around the valley that's blocking us. Humph. Array? What array? Emperor Shun frowned. Almost at the same time, a towering power suddenly erupted from the side of the huge valley, destroying the heavens and the earth. The swamp in the entire area seemed to split open and then collapsed with a rumble. At the edge of the valley, everyone's expression changed drastically. It was not difficult for this power to destroy the universe. They all retreated and floated into the distance. When they looked at the ground in front of them again, a colorful aurora had erupted. It went up to the sky and down to the ground, as if it had separated the two worlds. Did they set up this array long ago? Emperor Shun's expression was extremely ugly. Such a terrifying array was definitely not something that could be set up in a day or two. This meant that the Yellow Emperor and the others had already prepared a backup plan. The Yellow Emperor and the others' goal is to stop the Solar God race. The 12-winged Yang God said indifferently. His eyes narrowed, and killing intent filled the air. The Yellow Emperor is scheming and astute. Emperor Shun cursed angrily. They had prepared for a long time for the bloodstained Taisui. Unfortunately, it was all in vain. It's Lin Ling, damn Lin Ling. Then, Emperor Shun seemed to have thought of something and cursed angrily. Originally, they had already obtained the bloodstained Taisui, but Lin Ling had suddenly arrived, snatched the treasure, and killed Emperor Yao. Lin Ling, it's him, right? The 12-winged young god restrained his killing intent and suddenly sighed softly. Yes, he's Lin Ling. He used to be a tiny god, but he's the host of the world's will. His growth speed is incomparably fast. Now, his strength is no weaker than ours. In fact, he's even stronger. Although Emperor Shun hated Lin Ling to death, he had to admit Lin Ling's strength. Sigh, he violated the rules. The 12-winged young god shook his head. At this moment, Lin Ling was running forward with the Yellow Emperor and the others. When Lin Ling sensed the earth-shattering explosion behind him, his expression changed drastically. He never thought that the Yellow Emperor had actually held back. Hee, if it was just Emperor Yao and the others, we wouldn't be afraid, but Emperor Yao and the others are working together with the Sun God clan, so we have to be wary of them. The Yellow Emperor smiled. That. Lin Ling and the others nodded. Suddenly, Lin Ling looked back. It was as if he could see a blonde woman through the earth-shattering explosion in front of him. Was the 12-winged young god. Lin Ling could vaguely see that the other party was frowning as he looked at him. There was only resentment in his expression and no murderous intent at all. Lin Ling nodded. The 12-winged young god trusted Lin Ling and the others very much. He treated them as allies and allowed them to roam the nearby area. He was afraid that they would encounter danger, so he offered to help. However, not only did Lin Ling and the others snatch the treasures of Emperor Yao and the others, they even killed him. This was also against the rules of the Sun God race. In fact, if the Sun God race did not treat Lin Ling and the others well, Lin Ling and the others would not feel guilty at all. However, the Sun God race was too good to them. If there's a chance, I'll return the favor. Lin Ling thought to himself. After flying for a long time, a large hot spring appeared in front of them. Many people saw the Yellow Emperor and immediately came out to greet him. It turned out that this was the Yellow Emperor's territory. So many people. The Yellow Emperor can summon so many experts. Lin Ling and Lei Gong looked at each other in shock. It turned out that the gods they met in the Dao Tower were only the tip of the iceberg. Lin Ling, come in. The Yellow Emperor nodded to everyone and then looked at Lin Ling with a smile. He personally called for Lin Ling to go with him. The gods who came out of the hot spring were all shocked. Who was this young man that the Yellow Emperor would personally welcome him? Only the gods who had wandered outside the Dao Tower knew of Lin Ling's origins. They felt that everything was normal. The hot spring was not affected by the corrosive rocks, so Lin Ling also brought Yu and the others in to rest. Beside the largest hot spring, there was a mansion. Although it was simple, it was one of the rarer residences on the second level. Only the Yellow Emperor and Great Emperor Xuanxiu had the qualifications to live in it. Everyone entered the mansion and immediately, good wine was served. Lin Ling and the others sighed inwardly. As expected of the 5 ancient emperors. Others entered the second level carefully, but the Yellow Emperor and the others seemed to be on vacation. Lin Ling, you're amazing. If not for your sudden help, we would have worked for nothing. Emperor Yao is indeed cunning. The Yellow Emperor and the others sat down and smiled at Lin Ling. There was a trace of surprise in their eyes. Lin Ling, you actually killed Emperor Yao. Great Emperor Xuanxiu could not help but exclaim. The junior he had met in Firmament City was now stronger than him. He sighed inwardly. However, when he thought of Lin Ling's origins, he felt that everything was normal. Emperor Yao and I are irreconcilable enemies. I've wanted to kill him for a long time, and he did the same. Lin Ling took a sip of wine and smiled. Great Emperor Xuanxiu felt a chill in his heart. This Lin Ling was indeed terrifying. From a weak god, he had killed his way to the position of ancient emperor. Fortunately, his hatred for Lin Ling was not deep. Otherwise, he would have been killed by Lin Ling. Emperor Yao also wanted to kill you as soon as possible. It was like a race between the two of you to see who could reach the finish line faster. Unfortunately, Emperor Yao lost. The Yellow Emperor sighed. When Emperor Yao was not dead, he wanted to kill him personally. However, after Emperor Yao's death, he felt an inexplicable sense of sorrow. Perhaps it was hard for him to accept the death of one of the 5 emperors of the same generation. Yellow Emperor, this is your blood-stained Taisui. Following which, Lin Ling opened his palm, and a blood-red Lingji appeared. This Lingji gave off a faint fragrance. Even a god could extend their lifespan by a few years just by smelling it. If a mortal smelled it, they would immediately become an immortal and live as long as the heavens and earth. When the blood-stained Taisui appeared, everyone present subconsciously trembled. They all knew how precious this treasure was. Who knew how many people had died in order to obtain this treasure? After all, the blood-stained Taisui was more precious than any tumor. Lin Ling, this is yours. How can we take it? The Yellow Emperor stared at the blood-stained Taisui and said with a bitter smile. Great Emperor Xuanxu licked his lips. He was envious, but did not dare to say anything. Chapter 49-56. This. Yellow Emperor and Great Emperor Xuanxu exchanged glances. Finally, Yellow Emperor stood up. Originally, you were the one who obtained this blood-stained Taisui, so you should be the one to deal with it. But for this blood-stained Taisui, everyone put in a lot of effort, but don't worry, Lin Ling. This blood-stained Taisui can increase the power of the divine embryo, and not just one person can use it. Everyone can use it as long as they burn it with their divine essence. Oh. Lin Ling's eyes flashed. Although he knew how to find the blood-stained Taisui, he had never studied how to use it. How about this? 3 days later, we'll enjoy this blood-stained Taisui together. Yellow Emperor suggested. I agree. Great Emperor Xuanxu nodded. Lin Ling also nodded. Seeing everyone agree, Yellow Emperor smiled. It was best if no one had any objections to this method of dealing with the blood-stained Taisui. Soon after, Great Emperor Xuanxu and the others left. Lei Gong and the others also left. Only Yellow Emperor and Lin Ling were left in the mansion. Lin Ling, I didn't expect your strength to increase by leaps and bounds after entering the Tao Pagoda. Now, you're strong enough to become one of the 5 emperors. The Yellow Emperor sighed. He had a feeling that it wouldn't be long before Lin Ling's strength surpassed his. If not for old brother Yellow Emperor's help, I wouldn't have had the time to become strong. Lin Ling bowed to Yellow Emperor. Outside the Tao Pagoda, it was Yellow Emperor who helped Lin Ling block Emperor Yao and the 3 gates of White Mountain so that Lin Ling could enter the Tao Pagoda. How could Lin Ling forget this favor? It was just a small matter. Yellow Emperor waved his hand and laughed. He suddenly sighed. In the Tao realm, we 5 emperors dominated the era, but not in the Tao Pagoda. There are too many ancient races of the universe here, and in the higher levels of the Tao Pagoda, there are powerful giant gods at the saint level. They are too ancient. Saint level? Lin Ling's eyes flashed. Now, he had seen countless powerful king-level giant gods of the universe, and these giant gods were all heaven-defying. It was hard to imagine what a saint-level giant god would be like. Yes. Saint-level masters are extremely rare, and they only appear at the pinnacle of the universe. Even if we were to encounter one, we would have to bow our heads to them. It can be said that they are all half-step universe masters. The Yellow Emperor explained, their divine abilities are omnipotent. With the universe in their bodies, they are almost invincible. The big universe? Lin Ling pursed his lips. He also had the Lin Ling universe, but for some reason, he couldn't bring it with him. It was a pity. Alright, we're only on the 2nd level now. We'll talk about the future in the future. The Yellow Emperor waved his hand with a smile and continued drinking with Lin Ling. For the next 3 days, Lin Ling cultivated in the hot spring and stabilized his realm. However, the signs of a breakthrough still did not appear. This was because his foundation was not strong enough. Other than the eternal killing world, which was a higher god, his other divine embryos were all middle gods. They were not even worth mentioning. If not for the fact that he had 8 dantians, his chances of becoming a mid-stage higher god were very slim. Bloodstained Tai Sui, I hope it can greatly improve my divine embryos. Lin Ling was looking forward to what would happen in the next 3 days. During these 3 days, Lin Ling also refined the ordinary Tai Sui Lingji, allowing his divine embryos to improve. However, the improvement was very weak. After all, Lin Ling's 7 divine embryos had already reached their limits. It was the same for Lin Ling, and even more so for Indra and the rest. The 3rd day came quietly. On this day, the Yellow Emperor gathered everyone. First, he distributed a large number of sarcomas, and all the higher gods received them as rewards. And the giant gods of the universe were given the opportunity to cultivate the bloodstained Tai Sui. Of course, although Yu and the rest were not giant gods of the universe, because they had contributed to the fight for the bloodstained Tai Sui, everyone had a chance. In the largest hot spring, the Yellow Emperor floated there, holding the bloodstained Tai Sui in his palm. And this hot spring was surrounded by enchantments, sealing all leakage of energy. Outside this hot spring, countless higher gods were watching, their eyes red with envy, but they were not jealous. This was because they knew that the Yellow Emperor had always been fair. It was already good enough for them to receive the sarcomas. It has begun. At this moment, in the largest hot spring, the Yellow Emperor looked at everyone and said. And there were many giant gods of the universe around the hot spring, more than 1,000 of them. Everyone looked at the Yellow Emperor and nodded. The Yellow Emperor immediately activated his god energy and burned the bloodstained Tai Sui. At first, the bloodstained Tai Sui did not move at all, but the Yellow Emperor's forehead was covered in cold sweat. It was obvious that burning the bloodstained Tai Sui was very, very difficult. But after some time, a spark gradually appeared on the bloodstained Tai Sui. Next, a blood-red smoke floated out. This smoke was about the size of a finger, and after it floated out, it actually started to disperse. The whole area around the hot spring quietly turned blood-red, and an indescribable energy quietly spread throughout the bodies of the gods. Everyone felt as though they had been reborn. They could feel the godly embryos in their bodies becoming restless, as though they were undergoing a metamorphosis and evolving to the universe level. Most of the gods present were higher god embryos, but they had all reached the 8th or 9th stage. If they used this opportunity to cultivate, it would not be difficult for them to reach the universe level. Pang, pang, pang. Everyone hurriedly sat down cross-legged. Lin Ling and Yu exchanged glances and also sat down cross-legged. The red light spread throughout the hot spring. There was no such thing as who obtained more or less. Furthermore, using the red light to transform one's godly embryos also depended on one's ability. Therefore, the gods were all comprehending and cultivating, entering a state of selflessness. The Yellow Emperor also floated away from the hot spring, allowing the blood-stained Tai Sui to float in midair and slowly burn. However, this burning speed was very, very slow, so slow that it could not be seen with the naked eye. The transformation of the gods this time will probably increase the strength of many of them. Among the king stage universe gods, they will be able to dominate. I wonder if there will be anyone who can step into the saint stage. The strongest god here is the Yellow Emperor. He has hopes of stepping into the saint stage. Lin Ling and the rest are also here. It's a pity that their godly embryos are very ordinary, so they probably won't improve much. Outside the hot spring, the gods were discussing spiritedly. Lin Ling and the rest were comprehending together. Among them, the one who reacted the fastest was actually Saint Guy. His bloodline continued to transform, and the power of the Dongguang bell also increased by a notch. Yu Yu and the rest had ordinary godly embryos, but under the tempering of the red light, their godly embryos were actually transforming. As for Lin Ling, his 7 godly embryos were also transforming crazily. Wraith Jellyfish. Double Dragon Innate Skill. Luai's True Body. Vajra Bodhi. Wraith Hell Body. Human King's Flame. Eternal Killing World. Among them, the Eternal Killing World had the biggest change, increasing by 2 stages. Next was the Vajra Bodhi, which was transforming toward the godly embryos. The Primal Chaos Deity formula can actually refine the red light, and the speed has increased by 8 times. Lin Ling was shocked. At first, he was just imitating the others, but the progress was slow. Later, he tested the Primal Chaos Deity formula and immediately discovered a shocking change. Chapter 49-57. Apart from the power of the world's will, all of my strength is evolving toward a higher level. This bloodstained Taisui is too powerful. No wonder it attracted so many gods to fight over it. Lin Ling was shocked. Then, he was overjoyed. With this, it should not be difficult for him to break through. Time quietly passed. A full year had passed, and the hot spring was still filled with red light. The gods around the hot spring had gone in and out countless times. They stared at the red-hot spring sky with envy in their eyes. More gods appeared on the 2nd floor of the Tao Pagoda. They were searching for flesh-like monsters. At this moment, on the other side, there was a huge swamp. A huge sludge sat there. It was at least 1,000 miles in size. White bubbles constantly emerged from it. Sometimes, white bones and flesh would float up and down. It was extremely disgusting. Around the sludge, a large number of gods in black robes stood there. They were incomparably smelly, and a large number of flies were flying around their bodies. They were motionless like statues, indifferently staring at the huge sludge. Bang, bang, bang. After an unknown amount of time, a fishy smell suddenly floated over. Then, a few figures in black robes arrived. After floating over, they threw a large number of gods into the sludge. No. The gods were all shouting loudly. However, those black-robed gods did not move at all. They were cold and emotionless. After those gods sank into the sludge, their voices became softer and softer. Their flesh was melting, and their bones gradually floated up. This caused more bones to appear in the sludge. But among them, there was one skeleton that was the largest. Because it was the skeleton of a dragon god. If Lin Ling was here, he would definitely recognize that this dragon skeleton was the dragon god of the Dragon Valley. Unfortunately, he was dead, and his body was used as nourishment. In the 2nd floor of the rotten world, who else is worth it? After an unknown amount of time, a person spoke. Most of them are ordinary gods. Melting them will not help the rotten god much. Another person said calmly. As he spoke, worms kept falling out of his mouth. It was extremely disgusting. In that case, how is Emperor Yao? The god who spoke first suddenly asked. After 365 days, the power of decay has fused into his body. He should be revived now. Emperor Yao was one of the 5 most ancient emperors. It's a pity that he died. After bringing him back, I'll make him a member of the rotting world. When you brought Emperor Yao back, were you discovered by the Sun God race? No, the super young divine race is our mortal enemy, so we naturally won't let them discover us. That's good. Right now, the corrosive god is fighting against the Sun God at an even higher level. I heard that the Sun God was corroded, but he still passed down his legacy to the Child of Light. Many gods died in that battle, including many ancient giant gods of the universe. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King Li Jing, Taibai Jinxing, and other gods from the age of Pantheon couldn't even withstand a single blow. These gods kept talking in low voices, and when they spoke, the stench was enough to kill a god. The ancient races of the universe have existed since the birth of the universe. They used to look down on the growth of the gods like the great universe. They thought that they stood at the peak of the era, but they didn't know that there were many ancient races above them that were born from the power of the great universe. Cosmos gods, only the ancient races of the universe are the noblest, such as the sun god race, the One Fang race, the underworld deity tribe, the divine ox race, and others. Alright, Emperor Yao has revived. At this moment, all the gods looked towards the sludge, only to see a head floating up. The eyes of a skeleton appeared above the sludge, and more of them appeared. Gradually, the entire skull appeared. Furthermore, there were stinky bugs crawling on the skeleton, gradually turning it into flesh and blood. It's just that the flesh and blood were very smelly, causing the skull to turn into a human head. It was a gruesome sight to behold. And the skeleton walked up step by step, the flesh and blood on its body condensing, increasing in number. Finally, it completely transformed into a human, but just like its head, the flesh and blood were disgusting, and there were even bugs crawling on it. And this person was Emperor Yao. How am I still alive? So dirty, what are these, bugs? Scram! Emperor Yao looked at his body and shouted out in alarm. He flung away the bugs around him, but just as he did so, his body suddenly trembled, and a large number of bugs fell down. No, these bugs can't leave. Why can't I get rid of them? Emperor Yao held his head and shouted. It was as if he was possessed, unable to believe everything in front of him. And at the side of the huge sludge pond, the gods stood there indifferently, calmly looking at Emperor Yao. After a long time, Emperor Yao seemed to come to his senses. He looked at the gods in black robes and shouted, "Who are you people?" The gods didn't speak. After a moment of silence, they all took off their cloaks. Their flesh and blood were all rotten. The moment they took off their cloaks, a large number of stinky bugs fell down, flew away, and then flew back. Rotten race, you are from the rotten race? Emperor Yao roared. As the ancient emperor, he naturally knew of the mysterious race of the universe, the rotten race. In fact, before the calamity of the worlds will arrived, he had heard of this ancient race of the universe. It was just that he had heard of it, but had never seen it. However, when the calamity of the worlds will arrived, the universe was destroyed, including the various ancient races of the universe. That was why he could see so many ancient races of the universe in the Tao Pagoda. In order to punish you, bug, come back. One of the rotten race gods said indifferently as he stretched out his palm. A large number of bugs flew back from Emperor Yao's body, turning into a stinky black cloud that covered the god's back. No. Emperor Yao immediately felt as if his body was being bitten by 10,000 bugs. Even his soul power was in pain. From this moment on, you are already a member of the rotten race. You have no right to look down on us, nor do you have the right to say that we are dirty. Without the rotten race, there would be no you. The god in black robes said indifferently. Emperor Yao lay in midair, his body twitching in pain. His originally rotten body was gradually melting, revealing white bones in many places. It was a ghastly sight. I was wrong, I am also a member of the rotten race. Emperor Yao finally shouted, completely recognizing the reality. He, one of the 5 emperors, was also a dirty member of the rotten race. Every day, he had to work with stinky bugs, eat mud, and eat dirty flesh as food. Even if his heart was incomparably resistant, for the sake of survival, he had to grit his teeth and endure. At least you know your place. The god nodded indifferently. With a wave of his right hand, a large number of bugs flew towards Emperor Yao, allowing him to gradually recover. Remember, from this moment on, you are no longer the noble ancient emperor, but a dog of the rotten god. Even if you meet your old friends, they will despise you and kill you. This is the truth. The god said again. Chapter 49:58. If it wasn't for the rotten god seeing that you had some ability, he wouldn't have resurrected you. We wouldn't have risked our lives to go to the sun god race's territory to steal your broken bone. Remember, the sun god race is our natural nemesis. Never go there again. I understand, my lord. Oh right, do you know who else is suitable to join the rotten race? I know. Lin Ling, the world will Lin Ling. Emperor Yao hurriedly shouted. His eyes were as red as blood. He couldn't wait to kill Lin Ling. World will Lin Ling. I've heard of him, but he's an enemy of the rotten god. The eyes of the black-robed gods flashed. No, we should make a move on Lin Ling first because the 3 divine gates of White Mountain have been looking for Lin Ling. As far as I know, they've spent a lot of effort to get powerful gods to enter the Dao realm. Many of them should have entered the Dao Tower by now. If they find Lin Ling first, they'll definitely capture Lin Ling alive. By the way, you may not know this, but the gods behind the 3 divine gates of White Mountain are also hosts of the world's will. The hosts of their world's wills want to devour each other. Lin Ling is the target of the 3 divine gates of White Mountain. Emperor Yao told him everything he knew. After all, outside of the Dao Pagoda, he had fought against the Yellow Emperor with the gods of the 3 divine gates of White Mountain, so he knew the purpose of the 3 divine gates of White Mountain. Dipankara Buddha. The decaying god's eyes flashed. You are now one of us. I'm not afraid to tell you that we decaying gods are one of the 9 great universe stars. We specialize in dealing with world will hosts. However, your information is very useful, especially regarding White Mountain's 3 divine gates. 9 stars of the universe. Emperor Yao frowned. This was the first time he heard of this. However, Patriarch Subhuti also sent his gods. If the 3 divine gates want to capture Lin Ling, it won't be easy. Patriarch Subhuti's disciples will definitely help, so we can find Lin Ling first. Emperor Yao, if you can help us capture Lin Ling, the rotten god will reward you. Said the decaying god coldly. I'll help. I'll definitely help. Emperor Yao hurriedly nodded. As long as he could kill Lin Ling, he was willing to do anything. In the depths of his heart, Lin Ling was the reason why he had become neither a human nor a ghost. Remember, the rotten god represents the purification of everything in the universe. The entire universe is too dirty, and the universe will be purified. At that time, the universe will belong to our rotten realm. The voice continued to float out and gradually disappeared. At this moment, at the hot spring, the red light gradually dissipated, turning into a wisp of green smoke and disappearing. A blood-stained Taisui was completely burned up. And the effect was incomparably terrifying. It actually made the thousands of divine embryos of the universe giant gods greatly improve. The region around the hot spring remained silent, but powerful auras permeated the air. Every single universe giant god was making use of this opportunity to increase their strength. They had long accumulated countless treasures in the first level. Just like Lin Ling and the others, they had been waiting for the divine embryo to advance, to surpass its limits and stimulate its potential. However, the first to level up was the Yellow Emperor. His terrifying divine power surged out from him, causing the entire swamp to tremble. Sir Yellow Emperor is finally breaking through. It's been countless years. Sir Yellow Emperor has been waiting for countless years. Everyone below the Yellow Emperor's tomb was extremely excited. The Yellow Emperor was their leader. Only by becoming stronger could they be safer and lead them to glory. Old brother Yellow Emperor will probably reach the level of a Saint Universe giant god after this breakthrough. Great Emperor Xuanxu opened his eyes and looked at the Yellow Emperor in shock. His lips curled into a smile. Although he was somewhat jealous, he was now in the same camp as the Yellow Emperor. Naturally, he wanted the Yellow Emperor to become stronger. Old Brother Yellow Emperor has broken through. Lin Ling and the others opened their eyes as well. They then saw the Yellow Emperor disappear in midair, just as if he had disappeared from the Tao Pagoda. What's going on? Lei Gong and the others were shocked. The Tao Pagoda had a powerful law of the universe. If one wanted to leave, they had to borrow the power of the Tao Pagoda. Thus, this was the first time they saw someone who could leave the Tao Pagoda without using the ancient Tao heavenly realm. It's the great universe. At this time, Great Emperor Xuanxu looked at Lei Gong and the others and laughed. If it was in the past, he would have disdained to pay attention to Lei Gong and the others. But now, he knew that Lei Gong and the others were Lin Ling's people. He had to give face to Lin Ling. Thus, he patiently explained, powerful gods have universes on them, but not every god can bring their great universe with them. Even I don't know what conditions are required for this. Some people can bring their great universe with them when they are still higher gods. Some people, even with the power of a giant god, still can't bring their great universe with them. It seems that the stronger the great universe, the more difficult it is to bring it with you. This is because this will cause the greatest universe, the Tao Pagoda, to reject it. As for Old Brother Yellow Emperor, he has always been unable to bring his great universe with him. But now, he seems to have succeeded. Just wait. When he returns, he will definitely be able to break the restraints of the Tao Pagoda's great universe and bring his great universe with him. Enter. When Lin Ling and the others heard this, they were all enlightened. Lin Ling also thought of his Lin Ling universe. He didn't know when he would be able to bring his great universe with him. This was because if he brought his great universe with him, his grandfather and the others would also be bringing it with them. Old Brother Yellow Emperor has also broken through. Everyone, work hard. Use the power of the divine embryos to increase your realm. Then, Lin Ling said to the crowd. Yu Yu, Sakura, and Yuer, and even Xian Yuan Gu, nodded. After experiencing the tempering of the blood-stained Tai Sui, they had benefited greatly. The divine embryos had all transformed, and this was also their opportunity. One had to know that they were only higher gods. How could they have the fortune to enjoy the blood-stained Tai Sui? All of this was because of Lin Ling. Now, they didn't want to let Lin Ling down. Lin Ling smiled and also entered a state of cultivation. He had obtained a large number of treasures on the first level. He didn't lack the resources needed to break through it all. Unfortunately, the treasures needed to open the 9th Dantian were getting harder and harder. A large number of treasures appeared around Lin Ling, forming a colorful mist that floated above the hot spring. Then, Lin Ling began to refine them. Now, all 8 of his Dantians had reached the level of a higher god, and the eternal killing world had reached the level of a higher god. Breaking through wasn't a problem at all. Originally, many of Lin Ling's talents had reached the limit, but the blood-stained Tai Sui had the power to transform the divine embryos again. Only then did he step into the level of a higher god. Of course, Lin Ling wasn't the only one in the hot spring area who was borrowing treasures to cultivate. Everyone was doing so. It could be said that the gods who could reach the 2nd level didn't lack the treasures they needed in the short term at all. This also formed the hot spring area. Endless mist rose into the sky. Even in the vicinity of the hot spring, one's cultivation would improve just by smelling the spiritual energy. Chapter 49-59. Time passed quietly, and unknowingly, another 3 years had passed. In these 3 years, there were gods whose strength increased greatly, stepping into higher realms. And the center of the hot spring had fewer and fewer people. After Yu Yu and the rest had all increased their realms, they left as well. In the end, there were only 4 people left. They were Lin Ling, Lei Gong, Longyang, Nanwu Fenyu Treasure God, and Xingyi. These 4 were without a doubt the ones with the greatest progress. Not long after, Nanwu Fenyu Treasure God's body emitted a powerful divine energy of over 10 billion units. He had finally stepped into the ranks of the giant gods. Ha ha ha, this is great, this is great. I never thought that I would be able to step into the ranks of the giant gods in this lifetime. Nanwu Fengyu Treasure God sighed and stood there quietly for a long time. His eyes suddenly looked at Lin Ling, who was sitting cross-legged. He knew that if not for this youth, he would definitely be stuck in the 9 prefectures void. It was Lin Ling who had brought him to a higher world, to the peak of the universe. I never thought that the youth that Xiao Yu saved back then would be of such great help to me today. Nanwu Fengyu Treasure God sighed and left the hot spring to guard Lin Ling and the rest. The second to break through was Shengyi. He had the bloodline of the Donghuang clan, which was also an ancient race of the universe. Coupled with the Donghuang bell, his bloodline had transformed and reached the pinnacle of the higher gods. And with the power of his bloodline, he also smoothly stepped into the ranks of the giant gods, his divine energy reaching the millions. Next was Longnian and Lei Gong. They all stepped into the ranks of the giant gods. After standing up, they looked at Lin Ling and said curiously, Lin Ling is the strongest among us, but his realm didn't increase much. How strange. This is normal. Lin Ling's strength is more than 10 times stronger than ours. After this breakthrough, his strength will probably increase by leaps and bounds. If he becomes a giant god of the universe in the future, he will probably become an ancient great emperor. Although he's big, his strength is definitely not the same as before. Lei Gong laughed. It was all because of Lin Ling that they were able to grow so smoothly and become so strong. Lin Ling had determined their upper limit. Without Lin Ling, they wouldn't have dared to venture to the top of the universe because Lin Ling was like a flag that protected everyone. Go out and wait. Lei Gong left with a few people. As for Lin Ling, he was still breaking through. The 8 dantians in his body were spinning crazily. Not only were they absorbing spiritual energy, they were also spinning like 8 stars. This was the first time Lin Ling had seen such a wonderful scene. I'm about to break through. No heavenly tribulation is coming. Could it be that the Tao Pagoda can block the heavenly tribulation? Lin Ling thought to himself, My power of the world is increasing, and it's increasing by a huge margin. What happened? Lin Ling's power of the world's will was very strong, but he had always been unable to control it. He relied on the faith of others to increase his power. All along, the power of the world's will had been constantly increasing, but at this moment, it had increased by the largest margin. This made Lin Ling feel very strange. Probably, if it's not Lei Gong and the others, it's the people of the Lin Ling universe, or the gods on the Yellow Emperor's side. Lin Ling thought to himself. In fact, it was all 3. Now, the Lin Ling universe was changing as Lin Ling became stronger, forming more experts. And they all knew that the only god in this universe was Lin Ling. Therefore, their faith was increasing. Lei Gong and the others had all broken through and were grateful to Lin Ling. Their faith was also increasing. In addition, after the gods on the Yellow Emperor's side learned that Lin Ling had killed Emperor Yao, they worshipped Lin Ling even more and their faith increased. I wonder if I can control the power of the world's will this time. Lin Ling's greatest wish was to control the power of the world's will, this trump card. Hong. At this moment, the 8 dantians in his body rotated even faster, and endless spiritual energy was absorbed by the vortex. 90% of the treasures Lin Ling had accumulated on the first level had been consumed. Hong. The sound of the dantians breaking through rang continuously. Finally, all 8 dantians had entered the late-stage high god level. And when one dantian's power increased, Lin Ling's strength would increase greatly. But now, all 8 dantians had increased at the same time, and his strength had increased by more than 8 times. My fleshly body strength has reached 4 billion, my godly power has reached 3 billion, and my speed has reached 150 million worlds. Lin Ling took in a breath of cold air. Even in terms of basic strength, he already had 7 billion, which was close to the foundation of a giant god. After all, the foundation of a giant god king was 10 billion godly power. And his speed was 150 million. If he used Pangu's true body in Quafu's sun-chasing boots, it could reach 300 million. His strength had increased in all aspects. One had to know that Lin Ling had yet to fuse with his innate talent. Otherwise, his strength could still increase. I didn't expect my fleshly body strength to be even stronger than godly power. Lin Ling sighed. He stretched out his finger and looked at it. He knew that the reason his fleshly body strength could increase was all because of this Pangu's finger. And a finger was already so powerful. It was hard to imagine how much his fleshly body strength would increase if he used the other parts. It's too difficult for a giant god king to enter the saint level, so most giant gods are accumulating their foundation. And I heard that after entering the saint level, even the weakest godly power will double. This means that a giant god king with 5 billion godly power will have 10 billion godly power. 10 billion points of power of divinity, and it's doubled after breaking through. TSK, what level is this? And some even have 3 or 4 times increase. It's hard to imagine. But it's very difficult to break through to the saint level. Even old brother Yellow Emperor only did it by chance. Lin Ling sighed. He stood up, feeling as though he had an inexhaustible amount of strength. Now, Lin Ling couldn't defeat all the king-level universe giant gods, but he was confident that he could kill at least 70% of them. Old brother Yellow Emperor is still breaking through. After that, Lin Ling looked at the center of the hot spring. There, the Yellow Emperor's figure still hadn't appeared. He was probably undergoing his tribulation. The difficulty of entering the saint level from the king level was needless to say. After walking out of the hot spring, Lin Ling immediately saw Lei Gong and the others. Big brother Ling. Lin Ling. Everyone looked at Lin Ling and smiled happily. Lin Ling's gaze swept across everyone. Seeing that everyone's strength had increased substantially, Lin Ling was also very happy. After that, he took out the coffin lid from the first level and handed it to everyone. Take a look. Whoever can activate this coffin lid will get this treasure. Although this coffin lid could help Lin Ling, it wasn't very big. Moreover, Lin Ling had tyrannical song and wasn't used to using other weapons. What kind of deity weapon is this? Everyone blinked their eyes in surprise. Yu, and Yuer, and the other girls immediately gave up. It was strange to let them carry the coffin lid to fight. I don't need it either. Chapter 4960. Ha, let me try. Nanwu Fengyu was the first to try. However, he could not lift the coffin lid with all his might. This coffin lid is strange. It looks ordinary but I can't lift it at all. Nanwu Fengyu gave up after a few tries. Let me try. Young Beast Lord was the second to try, but he also failed. Next was young Qilin, but he also failed. Lin Ling couldn't help but sigh inwardly. It seems that only those with Pangu's bloodline can activate the coffin lid. Second brother, let me try. At this moment, Sakura laughed out loud and suddenly lifted the coffin lid. This time, everyone was in disbelief, including Lin Ling. He secretly guessed that after his big brother's divine fetus metamorphosed, it seemed to have a trace of connection with the Pangu clan. This coffin lid is so domineering. Sakura held the coffin lid with one hand. He looked at Lin Ling and said, Second brother, are you giving this treasure to me? He could see that the coffin lid was extraordinary, so he was a little embarrassed to take it. Take it. Lin Ling laughed and was happy for Sakura. This coffin lid has an extraordinary origin. It's big brother's fortune to be fated with it. Then I'll be thick-skinned and accept it. Sakura was excited. Alright, everyone take a rest. Let's go look for treasures. Lin Ling said to everyone. Everyone nodded. They had just broken through and wanted to test their strength. Plus, they had been in seclusion for a few years. They wanted to go out and explore. After Lin Ling tasted the benefits of the blood-stained Taisui fungus, he naturally wanted a second one. However, just as Lin Ling and the others were about to leave, someone suddenly ran over. Lord Lin Ling, Great Emperor Jun has sent a plea for help to the Yellow Emperor. Everyone is now discussing and asking for Lord Lin Ling's opinion. Lord Emperor Jun. Lin Ling frowned. If he remembered correctly, this was one of the 5 emperors. Moreover, he seemed to have an ordinary relationship with the Yellow Emperor. What did Emperor Xuanxu say? Lin Ling asked. The person immediately replied, Emperor Xuanxu wants to help. I heard that it was Emperor Shun who attacked Emperor Xuanxu. Now that Emperor Yao is dead, Emperor Shun can't do anything alone. Emperor Xuanxu wants to kill Emperor Shun. Emperor Shun attacked Emperor Jun. Lin Ling was shocked. Yes. That god nodded. Great Emperor Xuanxu agreed to go, while Yan Wading and the others also had the same idea. However, since the Yellow Emperor isn't around, they can't make the decision. Hence, they sent me to invite Lord Lin Ling over. Ignore them. Let them make their own decisions. However, Lin Ling shook his head. He did not want to get involved in this matter. He wanted to find the blood-stained Taisui. Emperor Xuanxu. Xuanxu Emperor Xuanxu is the head. Calm bees say something. The thunder god suggested after pondering for a moment. The Yellow Emperor had taught them how to control the mystiques of the world's will. They were all grateful to him. Yes, Xuanxu and the others can't make the decision. You killed Emperor Yao, and your reputation is comparable to the ancient emperors. You have the right to speak. Long Yang added. Xiaoluan looked at Lin Ling, but her meaning was the same. All right. Lin Ling could only nod. He led Lei Gong and the others in the hall. Before long, Lin Ling and the others saw a large number of gods gathered before them. There were at least tens of thousands of them. Even the giant gods of the universe numbered in the tens of thousands. They were all silent as they listened to the expert speak. Look, Lin Ling is here. At this time, Xuanxu saw Lin Ling and couldn't help but smile. Countless gazes looked at Lin Ling, and the gods all revealed looks of respect. This made Lin Ling feel that the power of faith was increasing. It seemed like these gods all knew that Lin Ling had killed Emperor Yao. After killing Emperor Yao, Lin Ling was now an ancient emperor in the hearts of many. Lin Ling is here. Xuanxu Great Emperor also stood up and personally welcomed Lin Ling. He knew very well that if they really fought, Lin Ling was not much weaker than him. And this was after his strength had increased greatly. If not for the blood-stained Taisui's cultivation, he was confident that he would not be Lin Ling's match. Lin Ling's opponent. It's like this. Xuanxu Great Emperor also personally welcomed Lin Ling, and then told him the whole story. Lin Ling listened quietly, and then asked, although Emperor Jun and the Yellow Emperor are not mortal enemies, they have always been on opposite sides. I'm afraid it's not good to help him so rashly. Lin Ling, you're right. However, although Emperor Jun and the Yellow Emperor don't get along, it's just a small conflict. Helping him this time can pull him into the alliance to fight against the ancient races of the Universe God Tower. A powerful deity of the Tao Pagoda. I know that as well. Lin Ling nodded. But why did Emperor Shun attack Emperor Jun? Do you know? This. Everyone shook their heads. I only received Emperor Jun's request for help, and it's the same for the Yellow Emperor. As for why Emperor Shun attacked him, we really don't know. Xuanxu Great Emperor frowned. I'm most afraid that this is a trap. Lin Ling said intuitively. Everyone's expression changed dramatically, and they guessed, "Lord Lin Ling, do you mean that Emperor Shun and Emperor Jun have joined forces to attack us? If that's the case, then it's a bit troublesome. After all, it's not a big deal for the two great emperors to join forces. I'm most afraid that Emperor Shun will also pull the Sun God clan to help. After all, we broke the rules of the Sun God clan. They probably won't let us go." Emperor Shun shook his head. "You don't have to worry about the Sun God clan. I have a feeling that they won't interfere in this matter and won't leave their territory." Lin Ling pondered. Although he was not familiar with the 12-winged sun god, he had an intuition. "I'm afraid of the others." Lin Ling voiced out his concerns. As for the others, Emperor Shun just came to the second floor of the Dao Tower not long ago. How can he know them? However, Lord Lin Ling is right. There was a lot of discussion, and they were in a difficult position. Lin Ling looked at the crowd indifferently. He knew that everyone wanted to help and pull Emperor Jun into their camp. After all, this was an opportunity. If the Yellow Emperor was present, he would probably help out, given his righteousness. How about this? We'll go and help, but we have to be careful. If we feel that something is wrong, we'll retreat immediately. Lin Ling finally made up his mind. At these words, everyone finally let out a sigh of relief, especially Emperor Xuanxiu, who smiled. In truth, he had not intended to ask for Lin Ling's opinion at all. Instead, he wanted Lin Ling to come and help. After all, the Yellow Emperor was not around, and he did not have the confidence to bring two gods to help. With Lin Ling's help, it was equivalent to having two ancient emperors. And Ji Wading and the others had the same idea. If Lin Ling did not help, they would not dare to move. "When do we set off?" Lin Ling asked. "How about tomorrow?" Chapter 49-61. As they traveled along the marshland, the area ahead of them was still as quiet as ever. Along the way, Lin Ling and the others also encountered a few waves of attacks from deities. However, Lin Ling didn't need to do anything. Sakura and the rest could handle them. With their current strength, it wouldn't be difficult for them to fight against ordinary giant gods of the universe. After a day, Lin Ling and the rest finally arrived at the area where Emperor Di Jun had asked for help. This area was full of hard rocks, formed by the hardening of the swamp. "Wait." Lin Ling didn't advance recklessly. He said to Lei Gong and the rest, "Let's split up and see if there's anything strange nearby. If there's anything strange, retreat immediately and inform me." "Okay." Everyone immediately dispersed. Lin Ling also looked around. However, he didn't find anything strange after searching for a long time. This was still the swamp. "Lin Ling, there's no change on my side." "Same here." After a long time, everyone returned and shook their heads. "Let's continue." Lin Ling frowned. This was too strange. There was no ambush. Could it be that his intuition was wrong? The group continued forward for a full 6 hours. Finally, a great battle appeared in front of them. Terrifying light soared into the sky. The battle was incomparably fierce. "Speed up." Lei Gong was anxious and shouted to Lin Ling. Lin Ling nodded. He was also afraid that something would happen to ignore Wading and the rest. However, he kept looking at the sky. He still felt that something was wrong. This was a swamp. However, the battle ahead was so fierce that it didn't attract any rotten rocks. This was somewhat illogical. After all, in the second level, only the hot spring area wouldn't have rotten rocks falling. However, the surrounding area was hard swamp land. Of course, it was just a thought. Lin Ling couldn't leave Ignore Wading and the rest behind. As they ran, a huge valley appeared in front of them. This valley was actually twice as big as the one where they had obtained the bloodstained Ticeway. In the valley, countless gods were clashing. All kinds of martial arts, divine energy, and other techniques soared into the sky. This was nothing more than a battle between gods. There was a giant steel ship as huge as a mountain. Wherever it passed, gods would be killed. There were ghost soldiers summoned from the underworld, and they were majestic. There were also gigantic heavenly pagodas, divine swords, and other items. The sky of the entire valley seemed to have transformed into the great cosmos, forming a collision between the cosmos. The battle was divided into two camps. One of them was led by Great Emperor Xuanxu, while the other was led by Emperor Shun. Di Jun, you lied to us. It let out a loud roar. Sure enough, it was all a trap. In order to lure out Great Emperor Xuanxu and the others, Great Emperor Jun had deliberately asked for help. In fact, he had already cooperated with Emperor Shun. Alas, I can't help it either. Emperor Jun smiled wryly, looking extremely helpless. Bullshit. We came all the way here to help you, but you lied to us. Damn it. Great Emperor Xuanxu roared. Great Emperor Jun knew that he was in the wrong, so he did not say anything. He turned into a huge monster monarch and fought against the gods on Great Emperor Xuanxu's side. Di Jun was a monster monarch, he could control thousands of monsters. His chest opened and countless ancient monsters rushed out. There were dragons, Kuan, Qilin, and other monsters. Their auras were extremely terrifying, and they could be called divine beasts. Hee, where's your yellow emperor? Did he run away? Emperor Shun sat on the huge eyeless grassland serpent and laughed sinisterly. A huge monster eye appeared behind her, as if summoning a large number of monsters from the depths of the universe. These monsters were extremely ferocious and terrifying. Not only were they huge, but they were also hairless and had no eyes. They were the monsters of the underground. Ji Yan, you ruined my plans last time. This time, I'll kill you first. Emperor Shun pounced on Ji Yan while Emperor Jun was suppressing Great Emperor Xuanxu. That day in the valley, it was Lin Ling who had led Ji Yan to steal their treasures. Therefore, Emperor Shun hated Ji Yan to the core. Stop him. Many gods on the Yellow Emperor's side shouted when they saw Emperor Shun swimming over on the huge serpent. Scram! However, Emperor Shun was too strong. With a sweep of the huge serpent's tail, the sky collapsed and the army was annihilated. Divine Eye. Ji Yan's strength was not as strong as Emperor Shun's, but he was not ridiculously weak either. He activated 49 eyes and released endless divine light. This was a powerful divine energy. For a moment, he was able to stop Emperor Shun. Damn it, your strength has increased. You're definitely the blood-stained Tice Wei. Seeing this, Emperor Shun was so angry that his whole body trembled. Ji Yan, I'll help you. At this time, Wu Ting also came to help. He activated a powerful mystique, and his divine energy reached the level of 50 billion. He formed a sonic attack that destroyed everything in front of him. A large number of sounds were heard. Strangely, there was the sound of the wind, the sound of the earth, and even the sound of the sun. It was as if all the sounds in the world had gathered. However, there was no sound at all. Ah! With this move, many gods on Emperor Shun's side exploded. They couldn't be more dead. You two pieces of trash. Humph, the might of the ancient emperor is not something you can offend. Emperor Shun screamed. His beautiful face began to change into the face of a fox. His mouth cracked open like a flower petal, but he had a large number of sharp teeth. They grew bigger and bigger, and he suddenly swallowed the demon snake under him. The huge demon snake was swallowed by him, and his entire body began to turn into ashes. What's going on? Countless people's expressions changed drastically, and they felt uneasy. However, at this time, the demon eye was still hanging where Emperor Shun had been standing. Suddenly, a huge figure walked out. It was a huge creature with 9 heads and the body of a snake. She had the face of a fox, and there was no doubt that it was Emperor Shun. Die! She roared and activated 80 billion divine energy, killing a large number of gods on the Yellow Emperor's side. The 9 huge snake heads pounced on Emperor Shun and Emperor Shun. Their expressions changed drastically, and they used their strongest moves to resist. However, after clashing, they realized that the 9 snake heads dared to swallow the entire universe into their stomachs. Emperor Shun, I'll help you. However, at this time, Lei Gong, Longyang, and Xiaoluan arrived to help. They activated their powerful will of the world, and together with Emperor Shun and Emperor Shun, they formed a powerful shockwave that sent Emperor Shun flying. How dare you ruin my plans? Emperor Shun's huge body tumbled, and after smashing a large number of gods to death, she stood up and shouted. Emperor Shun, don't be rash. Those are Lei Gong. This means that Lin Ling is here too. At this time, the huge Emperor Shun also let out a loud roar. At the same time, a sword slashed down from the sky. It was the tyrannical Song Sword, and it contained an incomparably terrifying divine energy. It also contained an endless amount of divine energy, and it affected a large number of people's combat strength. Whoosh! After a fierce slash, one of Emperor Shun's arms was cut off, and green blood spurted out. Chapter 4962. Lin Ling did not use his trump card because he sensed that something was amiss. Lin Ling, you're here. Great Emperor Xuanqiu was overjoyed. He looked at Lin Ling happily and said, let's work together and eliminate them. However, Lin Ling did not say anything. Instead, he looked coldly at Great Emperor Jun. From the latter's eyes, he could sense a sense of fear and helplessness. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. Everyone, retreat immediately. Leave the valley. Lin Ling couldn't care less anymore as he roared. All the gods were stunned, and they frowned. Great Monarch Xuanqiu's expression changed drastically. Now that Lin Ling was here, they had taken the initiative. It was possible that they could kill Emperor Shun and Great Emperor Jun. Why should they retreat? This was an excellent opportunity that he had missed. Lin Ling. In the distance, Great Emperor Xuanqiu looked at Lin Ling. Even Lei Gong and the rest did not understand Lin Ling's intention. Retreat. Lin Ling was getting more and more uneasy. He shouted anxiously. If he was alone, he would have left by now. Unfortunately, Lei Gong and the rest were here. He could not escape alone. As expected of Lin Ling. His sense of danger is much better than Great Emperor Xuanqiu's. Suddenly, Emperor Shun laughed loudly. She floated in the sky with her hands on her hips and laughed excitedly. That's right. You've been tricked. Emperor Shun finished laughing and looked coldly at the crowd. Finally, her gaze fell on Great Emperor Jun. Great Emperor Jun, you tell them. Great Emperor Jun looked troubled and sighed. Sigh, I was forced to do this. There are only 2 reasons why I tricked you here. One is Lin Ling and the other is the Yellow Emperor. However, it was not me or Emperor Shun who attacked you. It was the rotten race. People. Rotten race? Great Emperor Xuanqiu's expression changed drastically. Lin Ling's eyes narrowed, and a murderous aura spread out. The rotten race was the murderer of the Dragon Valley's Lord Dragon God. They actually wanted to attack him and the Yellow Emperor. Lin Ling, there's someone looking for you. It's someone you can't imagine. Emperor Shun said again. Her eyes were cold and full of expectation. Go. Lin Ling was not interested in knowing who it was. He was not worried about himself, but he was worried about Yu and everyone else. Too slow. But at this moment, a cold voice came from afar. Then, a figure appeared in the sky. He was wearing a black cloak and looked extremely mysterious. When Lin Ling and the others looked over, he slowly took off his cloak, revealing a face full of rotten flesh. There were worms crawling on his face. It was incomparably disgusting. Emperor Yao. After seeing that person, everyone was shocked. Even Lin Ling was shocked. That was because he had clearly sensed that Emperor Yao was dead. Why did he appear again? Moreover, he looked neither like a human nor a ghost. Huh, Lin Ling, are you surprised? You didn't expect me to still be alive. Emperor Yao touched his face and laughed sinisterly. It's you who caused me to become like this. But you don't have to be afraid because you will also become like this very soon. Hearing this, Lin Ling guessed. Could it be that the rotten race had resurrected Emperor Yao? But why would the rotten race target him? He did not believe that Emperor Yao alone could persuade the rotten race. The rotten race would not make such a big move for Emperor Yao. Rumble. Pop. Pop. At this moment, a deafening sound finally rang out. The valley shook, and a large amount of black mud suddenly appeared on the ground. Moreover, outside the valley, the originally hard rocks had also turned into mud. Not good, we are not on ordinary mud. Lin Ling's eyes were filled with shock as he shouted to everyone. He finally knew why there were no rotten rocks falling down. It turned out that they were on a hot spring. This is the rotten race's swamp. Great Emperor Xuanxu and the others stared at their feet and all of them panicked. They had heard of the rotten race's swamp before. It was said that it could corrupt any god. Any god that fell into the swamp would turn into a part of the swamp and become nourishment for the rotten race. All these years, the rotten race had been killing people on the second level for this very reason. Quick, run! They rushed into the sky but were immediately bounced back. Upon closer inspection, they saw that the sky above the valley had an additional layer of gray film. It looked thin but was extremely tough. Attack! Great Emperor Xuanxu took the lead and attacked the sky above. Rumble! However, the film was like a bubble. It immediately reflected everyone's attacks, and many of them even died because of it. It's useless. This is the swamp's smelly bubble. It connects the entire swamp. Unless the swamp is destroyed, the bubble will not burst. Emperor Shun gloated when he saw Great Emperor Xuanxu and the others panicking. Lin Ling looked outside through the bubble and saw many people wearing black cloaks beside Emperor Yao. They were looking at the valley coldly. Humph, not bad. We can't break this bubble, but how can you get out? Lin Ling looked coldly at Emperor Shun and the others. Emperor Shun and the others were gloating when they heard this. Their expressions changed drastically. Yes, they were also trapped in the swamp. Great Emperor Jun was the most panicked. He looked at Emperor Yao in the distance and shouted, "Emperor Yao, let us out. We are on your side." However, Emperor Yao did not move. He stood there like a statue. Emperor Yao. Emperor Shun gradually realized that something was wrong. He shouted crazily and panicked. Huh, idiot. Do you think Emperor Yao has a say in this matter? Emperor Yao is just a dog of the rotten race. The rotten race is using Emperor Yao to capture us all. You, us, and all of us will die. Lin Ling laughed when he saw Emperor Shun's reaction. Emperor Shun and Emperor Jun's faces turned ashen. They obviously thought that Lin Ling was right. Emperor Yao, you lied to me. You said that you would let me go if I tricked the Yellow Emperor and the others. Emperor Jun shouted crazily. No wonder he looked so helpless from the beginning. He was forced to do so. Emperor Yao, we have worked together for so many years. Please let me go. Your enemies are only Lin Ling and the Yellow Emperor. Emperor Shun was still trying his best to persuade Emperor Yao to stay. However, it was useless. They were left with the cold eyes of Emperor Yao and the others. Stop shouting. Now that you have cooperated with us, there is still a chance of survival. Lin Ling interrupted them with a cold smile. Of course, if you want to fight, we will accompany you. After all, we will all die together in the end. Lin Ling, I will cooperate, I will cooperate. Emperor Jun said quickly. He had betrayed the Yellow Emperor because he was threatened. Now that his life was in danger, he did not care about anything else. Moreover, he had heard of Lin Ling's name. He was so powerful that even Emperor Yao was killed by him. If he followed Lin Ling, he might be able to escape. Emperor Shun, what about you? Chapter 4963. Seeing that Emperor Shun was silent and his face was ashen, Lin Ling ignored him. I agree. However, just as Lin Ling was about to turn around, the Emperor Shun finally spoke. There was a crazed look on her face, as if she didn't believe in her own choice. Her feud with Lin Ling happened on the divine mountain of the Tao realm. At that time, Lin Ling had killed a large number of her immortals. She chased after him but failed. Instead, Lin Ling killed many more of her immortals. This was the greatest humiliation in her life. She couldn't wait to kill Lin Ling. However, before she knew it, Lin Ling had already grown to her current height. She needed to rely on Lin Ling to survive. Up to you. Lin Ling looked at the Emperor Shun indifferently. He knew that the latter was unwilling to give up. Lin Ling, don't believe the Emperor Shun's words. She ignored the Emperor Shun and whispered to Lin Ling, I don't believe her either. However, I don't plan to attack her either. Lin Ling shook his head and said, now, our lives are on the line. Escaping is the most important thing. Lin Ling, do you have any ideas? Emperor Jun looked at Lin Ling expectantly. The others stared at their feet and realized that the smelly swamp was rising higher and higher. It was about to drown them. The time left for them was estimated to be only about an hour or so. Lin Ling's face was solemn. He kept investigating and found that the swamp was extremely strange. It seemed to be floating on the ground, but the power seemed to be coming from another side. Everyone, use whatever means you know and see if you can break it. Then, Lin Ling said to the crowd. Everyone nodded. After a moment of silence, they used all kinds of magical means. An old man took out a gourd and said solemnly, my universe water gourd can absorb any water in the universe. I wonder if it can absorb this swamp. As his words fell, he poured divine essence into the water gourd. The water gourd produced a powerful suction force, aiming at the pitch-black swamp. However, after the powerful suction force was born, the swamp mud below did not move at all. It kept rolling and bubbling, and there were even many white bones that appeared and sank in from time to time. It's useless. The old man's expression changed slightly. Let me. A middle-aged man floated out with 18 silk banners in his hand and threw them down. My 9x9 heaven-overturning God's formation can teleport to other universes. I wonder if it can teleport these swamps to other places. However, when the banner fluttered into the swamp, it gradually corroded, losing all of its divine force. It began to melt, disappearing into the swamp's mud. It was ineffective again. The pressure on everyone increased greatly. The swamp is water. Try using my divine fire. A god with a 9th stage divine embryo opened his mouth and spat out a torrent of flames. What was shocking was that these flames were transparent and seemed to be formed from mist, but they had the form of flames. And this kind of flame was incomparably powerful, capable of burning everything. However, after falling into the swamp, everything disappeared. Even the flames were swallowed by the swamp. Too powerful. Everyone's face turned pale. Emperor Jun was even more anxious. He opened his chest and released a large number of demons, intending to fill the swamp with demons. However, when the demons entered the swamp, they instantly turned into white bones. In the end, Emperor Jun released an incomparably huge Kun that was even bigger than the valley. However, when it touched the swamp, it immediately turned into white bones and rolled along with the swamp. Lin Ling frowned at this scene. Suddenly, his expression changed dramatically. In the rolling swamp, he saw a familiar skeleton. It was a dragon skeleton. At this moment, his eyes narrowed and his hands clenched tightly. He knew that it was the skeleton of the dragon god from the Dragon Valley. Rotten race. For the first time, Lin Ling had the thought of exterminating this race. He wanted to exterminate this dirty ancient race in the universe. It's useless. The only way is to rely on divine force. Suddenly, Emperor Shun, who had been silent all this time, said. Everyone immediately looked at Emperor Shun. Emperor Shun explained, attack the swamp with the most basic attack. When the swamp's energy reaches the maximum level, the swamp will disappear. After all, the swamp actually came from the rotten god's body. It's a treasure that can corrode everything in the world and enhance one's cultivation. However, there must be a limit to the amount of energy the swamp can carry. There are so many of us here. If we all use our full strength and expend all our divine origin, we might be able to fill the swamp. Emperor Shun, what if we fail? If our divine origin is exhausted, won't we be waiting for death? Hearing this, Emperor Jun immediately frowned and retorted. The others' expressions changed. Emperor Jun was right. In such a place, if all their energy was exhausted, they would die even faster. Humph, this is my understanding of the swamp. Believe it or not. Emperor Shun snorted. She already knew that no one would believe her. We believe you. Why wouldn't we believe you? But since you're the one who suggested it, I think you and your people should release all your energy first. Guan Wading suddenly said. Emperor Shun's expression changed and she fell silent. Hee, you're just trying to trick us into wasting our energy. In the end, you'll catch all of us in one fell swoop. I now suspect that you're still Emperor Yao's man the mole. Emperor Zhuanxu also said. That's right. Hearing this, everyone quietly took a step away from Emperor Shun. After all, if Emperor Shun was lying to them, when their strength was exhausted and Emperor Shun attacked them, wouldn't he be able to take their heads in exchange for his own survival? Moreover, although Emperor Shun seemed to be trapped here, she could probably leave at any time. Her purpose was to deceive everyone. Humph, I won't be the first to test it. If my energy is exhausted, I won't be able to fight back if you want to kill me. Emperor Shun gritted her teeth and said. Like hell we'll believe you. Don't force us to kill you. We're going to die anyway. You might as well be the first to die. That's right. Guan Wading said one after another, her eyes full of murderous intent. Wait. However, at this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. Lin Ling interrupted everyone and looked at Emperor Shun. He said calmly, I believe her. Ah, Lord Lin Ling. Everyone was shocked. Emperor Shun looked at Lin Ling in disbelief. Because, among everyone present, she had the biggest grudge with Lin Ling. However, when others didn't believe her, Lin Ling was the first to believe her. Why? She really couldn't understand. She felt very conflicted for a moment. Now, we've tested all the methods that we can, but none of them worked. Therefore, I believe her. Lin Ling looked at everyone and said, moreover, I don't think she's a mole. Because this is too dangerous. I can kill Emperor Shun before Emperor Yao kills us. Therefore, Emperor Shun isn't that stupid to help Emperor Yao at this time. After all, to display one's full power in front of others was no different from revealing one's secret. How could an ordinary person do this? Universe 3 Extreme Destruction. At the same time that Lin Ling activated his godly power, his soul power transformed into 3 universes and shot out. Rumble. The swamp mud soared into the sky and splashed onto the air bubble in the sky, withstanding the powerful attack. However, it also absorbed all of Lin Ling's attack. Outside the air bubble, Emperor Yao witnessed Lin Ling's explosive power. His expression changed slightly as he was shocked by Lin Ling's strength. This Lin Ling is quite capable. He actually discovered the secret of the swamp decay pond. Unfortunately, with his strength, it's impossible for him to complete the swamp decay pond. The cloaked figures at the side said indifferently. It's indeed effective. At this moment, after Lin Ling released his soul power, he felt exhausted. However, he clearly sensed that the swamp mud did not submerge him. Although it did not sink, it meant that Emperor Shun was right. Look! The others also made discoveries one after another, and they were all overjoyed. Unfortunately, it's only submerged. This means that Lin Ling's explosive power is very weak. Emperor Xuanqiu shook his head. Lord Lin Ling, come back. It's our turn. At this moment, Saint Guy was worried about Lin Ling and suddenly shouted. However, Lin Ling did not retreat. He transformed into a giant and stepped on the swamp mud with his fists smashing down. Rumble. The entire swamp was overturned as mud splattered everywhere and a huge whirlpool appeared. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This included Emperor Yao and the others. Because they sensed that after Lin Ling transformed into a giant, his strength was extremely terrifying. Damn it, he is stronger than before. It must be the effect of the blood-stained Tice Wei. Emperor Yao was so angry that his body trembled. Now that he had to fight with Lin Ling, he did not even have 10% confidence. However, he quickly relaxed. Although Lin Ling had become stronger, he was still not a match for the rotten race. Rumble. Lin Ling continued to release his fists as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting. The swamp mud below began to sink and absorbed a large amount of Lin Ling's strength. A portion of the swamp rushed towards the rotten race. After an incense stick's time, Lin Ling began to weaken. Lin Ling, come back. Lei Gong and the others looked down and shouted anxiously. They could clearly sense that Lin Ling's strength was not as strong as before. Emperor Yao's eyes began to flicker with killing intent. However, she hesitated. She knew that this was the best time to kill Lin Ling. However, there was a voice in her heart that stopped her. Perhaps it was because if she killed Lin Ling, she might not be able to live. Or perhaps it was because Lin Ling trusted her, so she wanted to make peace with Lin Ling. Finally, she sighed and shook her head. It seems that I have lost. I have to admit that Lin Ling is a god more powerful than me. I can only submit to him. As soon as these words fell, Lin Ling, who was above the swamp mud, felt that the world will in his body was crazily increasing. This made him a little astonished. Of course, he did not think too much about it. In fact, he did not know that because he was the first to sacrifice himself and believed in the Emperor Yao, it caused the Emperor Yao and her people to have more faith and worship in Lin Ling. Pangu's finger. Lin Ling used his final trump card and fiercely pointed at the ground. A huge finger appeared, covering the sky and blocking the sun, as if it was sealing off the entire swamp. What method is this? At this moment, the expressions of the rotten race people in the distance changed greatly. Even if they were far away, they could still feel the terror of this killing move. At this moment, they rejoiced that they knew that attacking Lin Ling was the right choice. Emperor Yao's body trembled as if he had encountered a nightmare. This was because it was this finger that had erased his former self. Emperor Yao, you don't have to worry. Lin Ling will soon belong to us. Beside him, a rotten race god comforted him. Rumble. The huge finger erased the swamp, and the entire swamp seemed to explode. Chapter 49-65 Rumble. The gigantic finger brought with it an ancient wind, as if it could pierce through mountains and rivers, as it smashed down towards the ground. It did not seem fast, but those facing it knew that no one could escape once they were locked on by the huge finger. Lin Ling is so much stronger than I expected. Among us ancient emperors, perhaps only old brother Yellow Emperor would be able to withstand that. Xuanqiu Great Emperor laughed bitterly. He had thought that he would be able to fight Lin Ling to a draw. But now he knew that he had been overthinking. Rumble. The huge finger sealed the ground, and the huge valley continued to tremble, as though it was about to collapse. And the swamp beneath the ground was churning with waves. It was as though the swamp had turned into a demon, and knew how terrifying the huge finger was. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment. But everyone held their breaths. They stared at the swamp as though it was a cosmic explosion. Pang, pang, pang. It wasn't until his fingers touched the swamp that the swamp finally exploded. Rumble. A deafening sound rang out. The swamp water not only did not float up, but actually started to sink. Everyone's spirits were shaken. They were shocked by the power of that finger. Rumble. Time passed quietly. After the huge finger sealed the swamp water dwindled, and one could even see the immortal bones in the swamp. At this moment, Emperor Yao and the others were extremely nervous. However, the power of Lin Ling's Pangu's finger was weakening. Lin Ling sighed softly. This swamp was too powerful. It was definitely connected to the rotten immortal's body. Rumble. The shockwaves gradually dissipated, and the terrifying power swept in all directions. A pity that the valley was still not broken. Instead, Lin Ling fell weakly from the sky. Lin Ling. Sir. Everyone shouted. If Lin Ling was allowed to fall, he would fall into the swamp. Although there was very little water left in the swamp, no one could guarantee that nothing would happen after they fell into the swamp. Xuanqiu and Lei Gong rushed towards Lin Ling. However, there was a figure that was even faster. In an instant, he passed by Thunder God and the others and flew towards Lin Ling. Emperor Shun, you dare. Xuanqiu's expression changed when he saw who it was. Lin Ling and the Emperor Shun had a grudge, and Lin Ling was the first to sacrifice himself for everyone. Emperor Shun actually wanted to kill him. Given Lin Ling's current strength, he could not withstand Emperor Shun's attack. Do you all take me for a fool? Even if I have a grudge against Lin Ling, I will not attack him. Because I don't want to die. However, Emperor Shun said coldly. Then, he stretched out his hand and grabbed Lin Ling's hand. Although Lin Ling was weak, he was not unconscious. Seeing that the Emperor Shun had helped him, he could not help but smile. You go and rest. I will be the second to attack. Emperor Shun looked deeply at Lin Ling. With a pull of his arm, Lin Ling floated toward Xuanqiu and the others. His actions shocked everyone. After Lei Gong caught Lin Ling, he looked deeply at Emperor Shun and smiled. Looks like another person who has been defeated by Lin Ling. At this moment, Emperor Shun transformed into a demon snake and attacked the swamp crazily. Under Lin Ling's attack, the swamp had sunk to the bottom of the valley. However, after Lin Ling left, it began to rise again, but at a much slower speed. At this speed, it would take 3 incense sticks worth of time to submerge everyone. This undoubtedly bought a lot of time for everyone. Rumble. After Emperor Shun attacked, he did not hold back. He used all kinds of powerful techniques. Behind him, a large number of underground demons rushed out and fearlessly rushed towards the swamp to resist the power of the decaying deity. With Emperor Shun's help, the swamp stopped rising and began to sink again. After 5 minutes, Emperor Shun's strength was exhausted. He did not even have the strength to fly and fell from the sky. However, at this moment, a figure appeared and saved him. It was Long Yang. You go and rest. We'll do it. Long Yang coldly said to Emperor Shun. After throwing Emperor Shun far away, she, Lei Gong, Xiaoluan, and the rest erupted with the power of the world's will and attacked the swamp. The swamp sank again. Outside the valley, the cloaked people of the decaying race were shocked. They could see that Long Yang and the rest were using the power of the world's will. They were all overjoyed. They did not expect to capture so many worlds will hosts this time. After a while, Long Yang and the rest retreated from the valley. Next, it was Emperor Zhuanshu and the rest's turn. They held on for another 5 minutes. Emperor Jun and the rest followed suit. Everyone did not hold back at all. Perhaps because Lin Ling was the first to sacrifice himself, they all trusted each other at this moment. Moreover, they knew that if they held back or attacked others at this time, they would incur the wrath of the masses. Rumble. Everyone took turns to attack, constantly suppressing the swamp. The swamp continued to sink. Unfortunately, even if everyone used up all their strength, the swamp still did not reach its maximum. Let me. Lin Ling attacked again. Although he had only recovered a portion of his strength, he still used all his strength. The swamp was once again held by him for a certain amount of time. Next, those who had recovered their strength took turns to attack. Unknowingly, they had managed to hold on for an hour. Clap. 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 Outside the valley, the cloaked people of the decaying race could not help but clap. He said, "This is the first time I've seen someone able to hold on for an hour under the decaying God's great universe. It's really praiseworthy. Indeed, it has opened my eyes. Moreover, this is the first time I've seen them so united. They have abandoned their selfishness." Emperor Yao also smiled and nodded as if he was watching a good show. Unfortunately, it's useless. They will still die in the end. The cloaked people beside him shook their heads. Looking back at the valley, everyone was weak and powerless. They could not use any moves. They supported each other and relied on their divine energy to prevent themselves from falling into the swamp. The swamp had already reached the bottom of the valley, but after no one attacked, it floated up again. Sigh, we still can't win in the end. Emperor Zhuanshu sighed. His eyes were filled with decadence. Perhaps, this is fate. Emperor Shun shook his head and said. After resisting again and again, they still could not stop the swamp. Their willpower was gradually being destroyed. Some of the weaker gods had completely given up. They believed that the universe wanted to destroy them. They could not stop the great universe's laws. It's getting closer. Lei Gong and the rest supported each other and smiled bitterly. Everyone, do you still have strength? Gradually, the figure of the young man was revealed. He floated weakly in mid-air, holding a white sword in his hand. He was like a giant who came from the heavens and earth. The power of the world's will. Lei Gong and the rest gasped. That's right. Lin Ling's final force was the power of faith. Now, Lin Ling's power of faith was several times stronger than before. In addition to the previous life and death calamity, he could finally control the power of the world's will. This is the first time I've seen Lin Ling use the power of the world's will. Great Emperor Zhuanshu, Great Emperor Jun, and the rest were shocked. It was an eye-opener. As for Emperor Shun, this was not the first time they had seen him ignore everything. They had seen it during the Battle of the Misty Sea. At that time, Lin Ling had killed 2 giant gods of the universe with a single sword. Of course, in their opinion, this sword was 100 times stronger than before. What kind of power is Lin Ling's world's will? Even Emperor Yao, who was outside the valley, had a solemn expression. The dozen or so rotten race members frowned and remained silent. They were even more eager to capture Lin Ling. My lord. At this moment, Saint Guy rushed over and supported Lin Ling before flying back to everyone. Everyone, I've done my best. Lin Ling looked weakly at everyone. Lin Ling, you've repelled the swamp several times. This time, you've bought us 3 incense sticks worth of time. Emperor Shun said apologetically. Now, the grudge between her and Lin Ling had finally dissipated. Yes, if it weren't for you, we would have died long ago. Moreover, we've given up previously. We didn't expect you to still be fighting. This makes us feel ashamed. Emperor Xuanxu and Saint Guy were also apologetic. Now that Lin Ling's sword had slashed the swamp to the bottom of the valley, it would take at least 3 incense sticks worth of time to reach the bottom. Although it was a short time, it was still the hope of survival for everyone. The last 3 incense sticks worth of time. Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. Time passed quietly and the swamp was once again reaching the top. This time, no one could stop it. However, no one was dispirited anymore. They were still filled with fighting spirit. Even if they were to die, they would die standing. The Yellow Emperor is here. At this moment, a loud roar came from afar, shocking everyone. Tears welled up in Emperor Shun's eyes. They had been constantly informing the Yellow Emperor. Although they didn't know if the Yellow Emperor could hear them, they were still fighting. And now, the Yellow Emperor was finally here. They fought with all their might and didn't give up at all. In the end, they managed to hold on until the Yellow Emperor arrived. The Yellow Emperor. At the same time, Emperor Yao's expression changed drastically. The cloaked figure snorted, "You've come at the right time. What's the use of regretting it?" Rumble. In the sky, a surging river suddenly appeared and rushed towards the valley. With a boom, the bubble in the valley instantly burst open, and the people trapped inside were all released. What? The previously confident decaying god's expression changed drastically. Impossible. With the Yellow Emperor's strength, how could he break through the swamp? The Yellow Emperor. Lin Ling and the others rushed out of the valley, feeling as if they had just survived a disaster. At this moment, they all felt that the air outside was so light, so comfortable, and there was no stench at all. Moreover, they had lived for tens of millions of years, but the short 2 hours felt like tens of thousands of years to them. Sorry, Lin Ling, I'm late. On the rolling river, an old man arrived majestically. It's better to be late than never. Lin Ling looked up at the old man and smiled. Thank you for leading them to hold on for so long. Leave the rest to this old man. The Yellow Emperor laughed loudly. With a frown, the river beneath his feet rushed into the valley, smashing the valley into pieces. Without a doubt, the Yellow Emperor's strength had greatly increased. A Saint Universe God. So powerful. The Yellow Emperor is no longer the same as before. Retreat. The eyes of those from the decaying race flashed as they planned to leave. Chapter 49-67. My people almost died in your hands, and now you want to leave. Yellow Emperor's voice was like the wrath of the heavens. Yellow Emperor, do you know who we are? Do you know that compared to us in your era, you are like an ant? You dare attack the rotten race? Seeing Yellow Emperor's killing intent, the rotten race people shouted angrily. The rotten race was the most ancient race of the universe. They had witnessed the great changes of the universe, the great era. In their eyes, only the ancient race of the universe was noble. The rest were not worth mentioning. Yellow Emperor was like a slave they kept in captivity, a wild horse. Cut the crap. Yellow Emperor roared. Powerful godly power erupted, turning into a surging river that surrounded the rotten race people. However, the rotten race people were not afraid. They stood with their hands behind their back. You really decided to do this? One of the gods took off his cloak, revealing a face full of rotten flesh and bugs. Die. Yellow Emperor was furious. The terrifying river water seemed to wash away all the filth in the world as it rushed towards that god. Yellow Emperor, remember your choice. Rumble. That god was smashed to pieces, but he still looked incomparably calm. My people have followed me since the ancient era. What qualifications do you ancient races have to touch them? Yellow Emperor controlled the river and swept away the remaining rotten race gods. Several more were killed by Yellow Emperor. Now, Yellow Emperor's strength had increased by several times. He was incomparably powerful. The remaining few rotten gods stood in the center of the river. They looked at the Yellow Emperor and the others coldly. Emperor Yao, you didn't expect that after reviving, you would still lose. At this time, a weak voice floated over. Lin Ling was being supported by Saint Guy as he looked indifferently at Emperor Yao. Emperor Yao did not move, but bugs kept jumping off his face. It was obvious that he was furious. Because he did not expect things to turn out like this. As far as he was concerned, Lin Ling would definitely die today. However, Lin Ling was lucky and survived. At the crucial moment, Yellow Emperor had successfully broken through. No one had died. Instead, their strength had increased tremendously. Emperor Yao, on the other hand, had become neither human nor ghost. Lin Ling, I won't let you off. The thousands of words in Emperor Yao's heart finally turned into this one sentence. Do people like you only have these words to say before you die? Lin Ling sneered and said with a sarcastic expression. At this time, one of the rotten gods coldly said, you guys are really a bunch of ants. You think you can win everything with a momentary victory. You don't know that you are already dead. Let me tell you something. We will not die. Rotten. God has sent people here. With that, Yellow Emperor's eyes flashed. He suddenly turned around and saw 3 bubbles floating out of the destroyed valley. The bubbles were filled with a foul stench. Then, they slowly melted and 3 figures slowly walked out. The 3 of them were dressed in long black robes, and their bodies reeked of a foul stench. The moment they appeared, the entire world seemed to have become stinky. And their strength was even more unfathomable. It was as if their strength could corrode the entire universe. The most terrifying thing was that they were clearly from the Dao Tower, but they were able to pass through the Dao Tower. Clearly, this was the doing of the rotten gods. Rumble. At the same time, 1,000-mile large rotten rock appeared above their heads and smashed down. Because the valley had been destroyed, the hot spring area was no longer formed, so the rotten rock appeared. An 1,000-mile large rotten rock meant that the person who came was too strong. The rotten rock formed was incomparably terrifying. However, the person standing in the middle stretched out his hand. An ink-colored universe spat out from his palm, as if it was sprinkling ink, and enveloped the sky. In the blink of an eye, the rotten rock falling from the sky became incomparably black. Although it continued to fall, it turned into nothingness when it landed on the 3 people's heads. Only a large lump of foul ink was left rolling. Chi chi chi. Emperor Xuanxu and the others all sucked in a cold breath. This person had actually broken through the rotten rock. One had to know that ever since they came to the 2nd level, they had never seen a deity who could only face the rotten rock head-on. Yellow Emperor's eyes narrowed, and he whispered, one of these 3 is a Saint Universe giant god, and the other 2 are kings. They are very strong. Everyone, be careful. The pressure on them immediately increased. Previously, they had exhausted too much of their strength, and now they had not recovered. It would be hard for them to stop these 3. Yellow Emperor, you killed a member of the rotten race. At this time, the deity standing in the middle slowly removed his cloak. What was shocking was that there was no foul flesh on his face, nor were there any bugs. Instead, it was a gray color. This was an old man with a face full of wrinkles. You rotten race people are killing people everywhere. Why don't you say that only you are allowed to kill, and others are not allowed to kill you? Yellow Emperor said indifferently, trying to buy time for Lin Ling and the others. We kill people because they are too weak, the old man said indifferently. Leaving them alive is a waste of the universe's resources. Since that is the case, we might as well help others and leave behind stronger deities. I know you are stalling for time, but what's the use? Even if they recover their strength, they are still not our match. Ha ha ha. Hearing this, Yellow Emperor laughed loudly. Waste the universe's resources? The Solar God race, the One Fang race, the Desolate Ancient Dragon Alliance, the Underworld Deity Tribe, the Godly Ox race, the #1 Toad race in the universe, and so on. You rotten race people, why don't you attack them? Yellow Emperor, I saw that your strength had increased greatly. I originally wanted to give you a chance to meet the rotten god, but you didn't want it. The old man said with narrowed eyes. Why waste time talking with them? Just kill them all. I heard that there are several world will hosts here. Leave them alive and kill the others. The two standing beside him shook their heads. They were king-level universe gods, but they were much more powerful than ordinary universe gods. Lin Ling sensed a total of 100 billion units of godly energy from them. The rotten race was indeed terrifying. Fine. The old man nodded and looked at Emperor Yao and the others. Wait a moment. We will save you. After saying this, he transformed into a huge pool of ink and charged at Yellow Emperor. His godly energy was even more terrifying, reaching 200 billion units. The difference between king level and saint level was that saint level deities had double, triple, or quadruple the godly energy. King level deities had a base of 10 billion units of godly energy, but they could still increase it, albeit at a very slow rate. It was not comparable to saint-level deities. As for the other two, they also had 100 billion units of godly energy. From this, one could see how powerful they were. On Lin Ling's side, most of them only had 20 to 30 billion units of godly energy. The strongest, Emperor Xuanxiu, only had 80 billion units. The three joined forces to attack Yellow Emperor. As they saw it, Yellow Emperor was a formidable opponent. The others were just chickens and pottery dogs. Chapter 4968. This meant that after the Yellow Emperor broke through, his godly power had doubled. Moreover, this was because he had just broken through. If he was given more time, his godly power would increase even more. As expected of the Yellow Emperor. The old man's expression changed slightly. He had broken through several 100 million years ago, yet he only had 200 billion. However, the Yellow Emperor had caught up to him right after breaking through. This showed the difference between the two sides. Black Desolate Old Ancestor, will help you. The two universe gods beside him shouted, forming 400 billion godly power to drown out the Yellow Emperor. They cultivated the same power at the same time, and when they fused together, they were much stronger than other gods working together. Yellow Emperor. Everyone was anxious. They knew that if the Yellow Emperor was defeated, all of them would die. The ancient races of the universe are blessed by the heavens. They are much stronger than us gods. Yes, we came from the desolate era, the ancient era, and the era of gods. They came from the primordial era when the universe was first formed. Stop talking nonsense, quickly recover your strength. After a moment of anxiety, everyone entered seclusion, using their treasures to quickly recover their strength. Warring States opened desolate river. At this moment, the Yellow Emperor shouted. His godly power clashed with the three gods, and he was instantly at a disadvantage. However, at the crucial moment, he activated his own great universe. His great universe was incomparably powerful, forming a majestic land in the sky. The mother river churned, nourishing all life under the heavens. Countless primitive people were farming, but after seeing the battle, they all raised their weapons to help. Two realms great universe. Seeing the arrival of the great universe, the strongest of the rotten race elders' expression changed as he sensed the might of the Yellow Emperor's great universe. A great universe could change the laws, creating heaven and earth from nothing. Generally speaking, the stronger the universe, the more help it would provide. For example, the Yellow Emperor's two realms great universe could resist some Tao realm great universes. By changing the laws of Tao realm great universes, the Yellow Emperor's 200 billion godly power doubled or even more. According to legend, the Nine Realms Great Universe could resist 70% of Tao realm great universes. There was nothing in the Tao realm that couldn't be done. Two Realms Great Universe. Lin Ling's eyes flashed. He had seen many gods with great universes, but most of them were unformed ones. Lin Ling felt that the Yellow Emperor's great universe was more powerful than his Lin Ling universe. Hom Long Long. The rotten world seemed to crumble. At the same time, large amounts of rotten rocks in the sky. In the distance, a large number of gods were also watching the battle. All of them were pale with fright. This was the first time they had seen so many rotten rocks falling down. That's the head of the 5 emperors, Yellow Emperor. They whispered to each other. It was hard for them to imagine if there were still gods who could only live in the world ahead. Of course, he still chose to avoid most of the rotten rocks. All right. Among the 3, the weakest cosmic god split up and shot toward Lin Ling's group. Lin Ling's side had tens of thousands of gods, but they were all in a weakened state. To the cosmic god, they were like sheep. Of course, even if these gods were at their peak, they would not be a threat to him. This person is very strong. Lin Ling, try your best to recover. Emperor Xuanxu, Emperor Jun, Emperor Shun, let's do it. Seeing the other party shooting toward them, Guan Wading and the others shouted. They had not recovered their strength, but they recovered faster than the others. If they worked together, they might be able to block 1 or 2 attacks. I'll help you too. Lei Gong stood up. Seeing them frown, he explained, my world's will has recovered more than half. It's recovering faster than my primordial energy. I'll help too. Xiaoluan and Longyan also stood up. Damn it. My Donghuang bell needs the power of a god. Otherwise, I would be able to help too. Saint Guy said unwillingly. I'll help too. My coffin doesn't need too much power of a god. Indra also flew out, and the few of them fought against the cosmic god. Lin Ling's eyes flashed as he hastened his recovery. The gods beside him also took out treasures that they had kept for many years to help Lin Ling recover his primordial energy. Now that everyone was on the brink of death, no one would hide anything. They all knew that Lin Ling was the strongest among them. If Lin Ling recovered to his peak, there was a high chance he could defeat the cosmic god. Haha, it's just a last-ditch struggle. The cosmic gods are also divided into strong and weak. However, that senior Chuing alone is much stronger than the 5 emperors of the past. Emperor Yao and the others were still surrounded by the river, but they were not worried at all. They crossed their arms and laughed. Emperor Yao felt lucky that he had joined the rotten race. Otherwise, he would not be able to fight against Lin Ling and the Yellow Emperor. With just you lot. At this moment, the cosmic god stopped and looked at Emperor Yao and the others with disdain. Just a bunch of defeated soldiers. He opened his cloak, revealing his rotting flesh. A large number of insects flew out. These insects were all powerful with the power of a god and could corrode the opponent's methods. He was helpless against the Yellow Emperor's universe, but he did not care about the others. Fight! They ignored him and activated all their strength to fight against the insects. Unfortunately, they had recovered too little strength. They could only hold on for 3 breaths of time before the insects crawled all over their bodies and corroded them. On the other hand, Lei Gong and the others were stronger. They erupted with the world will and blocked the insect army. Although the insect's corrosive power was strong, they could do nothing to the world will. Of course, Lei Gong and the others could only hold on for a short while. After all, they had not recovered much of the world will. As expected of the world will, that god called Chewing narrowed his eyes. He felt that he was about to catch Lei Gong and the others. Of course, he could also see that the world will was very weak and could not compare to the others he had encountered. Let me. At this moment, Indra roared. He held the coffin lid and swept through the army, shattering the dome of heaven. Bang bang bang. A large number of insects were blown apart and could not get close to Indra. What? At this moment, everyone was astonished. Especially young Yao, treasure god Nanwu Fengyu, and the others. They laughed excitedly. All along, Indra's strength was below average. To put it bluntly, he was cannon fodder. But now, Indra had shocked the world with a single brilliant feat. Hee, big brother. Lin Ling took a look and secretly rejoiced at his choice. This coffin lid was indeed suitable for big brother. Ha ha ha, awesome. Chapter 49-69. This coffin is quite impressive, it's actually impervious to all evil. Sigh. Primeval Cherry Goddess frowned, and after investigating for a moment, she suddenly sneered. Unfortunately, your realm is too low. Sigh. After saying that, she took the initiative to grab Sakura, suppressing him with her enormous divine power. Come at me. Sakura roared. Holding the coffin with both hands, he unleashed the most ancient gale. Rumble. The void trembled, causing huge rotten stones to appear in the sky. However, Sakura's aura had already reached the peak. Not only did he not care about the rotten stones, he still swept past them. As for Primeval Cherry Goddess, she also ignored the rotten stones. Her palm turned into a dark cloud formed by countless insects, grabbing at the coffin. Bang, bang, bang. The two sides collided, forming an incomparably terrifying aura. It was as if heaven and earth were collapsing. Then, they separated again, avoiding the falling rotten stones in the sky. Sakura actually blocked Primeval Cherry Goddess's grab, causing countless people to be shocked. You are quite capable. You are the first high-level deity to be able to block one of my attacks. However, I am even more curious about your coffin. Primeval Cherry Goddess's eyes flashed, and she attacked crazily. Her divine power seemed to be able to topple mountains and overturn seas, drowning Sakura like a violent storm. Sakura, you can do it. Lei Gong and the others were all shouting, incomparably excited. Because of this belief, Sakura became fiercer and fiercer as he fought, blocking Primeval Cherry Goddess's moves again. However, he was still a high god. Even if his coffin was heaven-defying, his foundation was still too weak. He wasn't Lin Ling, he didn't have 8 dantians. Therefore, as time passed, he began to fall into a disadvantage, and gradually, he was surrounded by danger several times. Sakura, I'll help you. When Lei Gong and the others saw the situation, they all urged the world's will to assist Sakura. However, Primeval Cherry Goddess was indeed powerful. She didn't care about Lei Gong and the others' attacks at all, focusing on attacking Sakura. She was very clear that although Lei Gong and the others' world's will was powerful, Lei Gong and the others hadn't recovered at all. Let's go too. Great Emperor Xuanqiu, Emperor Shun, and Great Emperor Jun also made their moves. However, Chewing Shen only wasted a bit of time. His hand turned into a blade, and with a slash, all of the attacks were disintegrated. Get over here. He pounced towards Sakura and seemed to be getting serious. The big hand reached out and actually grabbed Sakura's coffin lid. With a sudden tug, the coffin lid fell out of his hand. What? However, just as he grabbed the coffin lid, Chuchuang God felt that something was wrong. The coffin lid was very heavy as 1,000 caddies. He couldn't lift it at all, let alone use it to fight. What was going on? Why was this weak superior god able to control it, but he, who came from an ancient race of the universe, could not? Bang! The coffin lid fell to the ground from the sky. Chu-Chu Sakura Goddess ignored it for now. She would kill these people first and then study the coffin lid. You bunch of ants, it's time to admit your deaths. Haha, don't think that you can stop the noble rotten race. Chuchuang God sneered. Her gaze locked onto Sakura, and she turned into a dark cloud and rushed over. She was a god filled with bugs that could corrode everything. Sakura. At this moment, Yellow Emperor was fighting two gods. Originally, he had the upper hand, but Sakura's side was in danger, causing him to be distracted. In an instant, the two rotten race gods had reversed the situation. However, Yellow Emperor was powerful, and he wasn't worried about himself. Instead, he was worried about Sakura and the rest. Damn it! Sakura cursed. Death was near, but he wasn't afraid. His heart was filled with unwillingness. His realm was too low. If he reached the level of a universe giant god, this Chuchuang god would be nothing. A coffin lid would be enough to kill him. Universe 3 Extreme Destruction, Jia Yuan Destruction. But at this moment, a voice drifted over. Following that, a terrifying soul ray shot out even faster than the sound. 3 great cosmoses were coming at him, formless, colorless, and terrifying. Not good. Chuchuang God's expression changed greatly. Sensing a life and death crisis, she suddenly disappeared. Shwa, shwa, shwa. Sounds like beans being fried resounded. The dark clouds around Sakura fell to the ground like rain. All the bugs were killed by the soul ray. Sakura, however, was safe and sound. Instead, he looked behind him excitedly. He saw Lin Ling, who was protected by countless gods, still sitting cross-legged in midair. His expression was serene, like a sitting rock, like an ancient god that had just woken up from a deep slumber. It's you. Chuchuang God's eyes narrowed as she stared at Lin Ling. This was her first time here, and this was the first time she saw Lin Ling. Thus, she didn't know how strong Lin Ling was. What was that technique from before? So formidable, it actually gave me a sense of danger. He is only a higher god, yet he can make me, a universe giant god, feel apprehensive. He is very strong. However, he is still recovering. This is the final chance to kill him. Chuchuang God's eyes flickered. She took a light step forward and walked towards Lin Ling. Her pace wasn't fast, mainly because she felt that Lin Ling was somewhat mysterious. She couldn't see through him. The moment she left, Lei Gong and the rest immediately blocked in front of Lin Ling. Let him come over. But at this moment, a calm voice transmitted to everyone's ears. It was Lin Ling's voice. Hearing this, Lei Gong and the rest immediately stepped aside. Instead, it was Chuchuang God who stopped. She frowned. This youth was too mysterious. Senior, don't be fooled. He doesn't have the strength to fight against you. He is deliberately mystifying you. You must immediately kill him. At this moment, Emperor Yao's roar sounded. He knew that Lin Ling had always been cunning. Now that he was pretending to be mysterious, he was definitely stalling for time. That's true. Chuchuang God nodded and walked towards Lin Ling again. But at this moment, Lin Ling finally opened his eyes. His eyes were calm, like an ancient well without ripples. Pang. For some reason, just a gaze caused Chuchuang God's heart to violently beat. You still have 3 breaths to escape. At this moment, Lin Ling slowly spoke. He was clearly saying that he still had 3 breaths to recover. Why didn't she escape? At this moment, Great Emperor Xuanqiu and the rest were overjoyed and inexplicably excited. How domineering. Let's see if the rotten race god dared to escape within 3 breaths. One had to know that the nobility of the rotten race was something that even the Yellow Emperor didn't put in their eyes. You dare to humiliate me? Chuchuang God's expression changed drastically. Generally speaking, how could she be afraid of a superior god? However, she was also a god who had cultivated for hundreds of millions of years. She had innate intuition and could see through the universe. That was why she was afraid of Lin Ling. 1. At this moment, Lin Ling slowly counted. Chapter 49-70. A mere nameless god dares to act mysterious. Chu-Chuing deity reacted and roared. She was finally going to attack. 3. At the same time, Lin Ling finally stood up. An ancient gale surged out of his body, pushing away all the gods around him as he struck out with his palm. Rumble. When this palm collided with Chu-Chuing deity, the latter was actually forced to retreat. Her expression changed greatly. Meanwhile, Lin Ling's figure grew infinitely. He was like a giant, his head touching the sky and his feet stepping on the ground. Chu-Chuing deity's pupils trembled fiercely. What kind of technique was this? He was clearly a superior god, but he could turn into a giant, giving her a feeling that he was unrivaled. Your Excellency, what are you doing? Chu-Chuing deity said in a low voice. What am I doing? Lin Ling was still growing. His long hair danced wildly, and a large number of complicated patterns appeared on his body. He was majestic and domineering, causing countless people to look up at him. Lin Ling's voice was also as deep as thunder. You want to kill me, right in front of me, and now you ask me what I am doing. Senior Chu-Chuing, he is Lin Ling, one of the hosts of the world will, that the rotten deity wants to capture. At the same time, Emperor Yao anxiously shouted. He was deeply afraid that Chu-Chuing deity would be afraid of Lin Ling and run away. You are Lin Ling. Chu-Chuing deity's pupils constricted, and she suddenly relaxed. I thought it was someone from some ancient universe race, but it turned out to be you, Lin Ling. You really gave me a fright. However, you can be considered the second person among the superior gods that I am somewhat apprehensive of. Yes, the first was that guy holding the coffin lid. Unfortunately, he is still not my match. Lin Ling, right? The rotten deity has named you, and I am the one to capture you. That is your honor. Hearing this, Lin Ling laughed loudly. His laughter shook the sky. He looked down at the tiny Chu-Chuing deity and shook his head. Is your rotten race also arrogant? Showing off the aura of a king. How dare you? In the beginning, Chuing God was only afraid of Lin Ling because she couldn't see through Lin Ling's origins. Now, how could she put Lin Ling in her eyes? What an arrogant brat. On the other side, the two gods who were engaged in a fierce battle were enraged even though they were constantly at a disadvantage. Get over here. After being enraged, the primeval cherry god no longer held back. All of her divine power exploded out, and 100 billion divine power turned into a meteor that bombarded Lin Ling. You overestimate yourself. Lin Ling also knew how powerful God Chuing was, so he had transformed into Pangu from the start. This was because he was no match for the latter with his own strength. He threw out a punch. It seemed slow, but it was enough to split the heavens and earth. Rumble. This punch was even larger than a meteor, and it actually shattered all of Primeval Cherry Goddess's divine power. The Primeval Cherry God's entire body shook, and she was sent flying. Her expression changed greatly. Only after facing it head-on did she realize how terrifying this giant was. One had to know that she was already one of the strongest among the king-level giant cosmos gods. There were probably no more than 1,000 people stronger than her. And yet, a high god was actually able to fight against her. Just what is the background of this Lin Ling? Why is he the host of the world's will? Why is he so much stronger than the others? The primeval cherry god's heart was heavy. Her eyes flashed, and a huge rotten rock appeared in the sky and smashed towards the two. However, the Lin Ling giant was taller and was the first to receive the attack. However, Lin Ling threw a punch towards the sky, and the rotten rock was blown to pieces. Ah! This punch shocked the swamp. So far, other than the Yellow Emperor and that rotting race expert, this was the third person who could destroy the rotten rock. The most terrifying thing was that this third person was only a high god. Lin Ling, your strength has exceeded my expectations. But I don't believe you can really fight against a king-level giant cosmos god. The primeval cherry god was also shocked by Lin Ling's methods. But she suddenly shouted, and her entire body exploded, disappearing from where she stood. Rolling dark clouds appeared in the sky. They were even bigger than Lin Ling, and they enveloped Lin Ling. Looking carefully, they were actually insects that wanted to corrode Lin Ling. This time, you must die. The primeval cherry god was close to going crazy. Not good, that rotting race god has disappeared. The Emperor Shun and the others hurriedly checked, but even they couldn't see where the primeval cherry god was. Lin Ling's eyes flashed as he stared at the endless dark clouds. But he couldn't see the primeval cherry god either. His soul force couldn't find her either. The rotting race was indeed quite capable. But since he couldn't find her, he would just destroy them all. Lin Ling sneered. He stretched out his hand and pointed at the largest dark cloud, then fiercely pointed. Pangu's finger. The incomparably huge finger blasted forward, as if it could destroy any multiverse. At this moment, the Yellow Emperor and the others stopped fighting. They were all shocked by this finger. What kind of method is this? Why do I feel like no multiverse can stop this finger? This finger is specialized in subduing multiverses. Not only the Yellow Emperor, but even the expression of the strongest rotting race elder changed drastically. Not good. You actually still have a method. A voice came from the rolling dark clouds, full of shock and disbelief. He had transformed into a dark cloud, but in fact, he had entered space and hidden in the multiverse. He was confident that this youth's fist couldn't kill him at all. But who would have thought that the youth would turn his fist into a finger, and it was even more powerful, as if it could split heaven and earth and tear space apart. Could it be that this is the hidden Pangu's finger in the ancient coffin on the first level? Impossible. How could this young man obtain that finger? When the enormous finger got closer and closer, Primus Cherry Deity finally saw something clearly. His soul trembled. He wanted to escape, but he discovered that there was nowhere to run. The next moment, he discovered that the world had become bright, and everything disappeared. Then, he couldn't remember anything. His memories, his bloodline, and his entire life seemed to have disappeared along with the finger. And in front of everyone's eyes, Lin Ling pointed forward. The dark clouds melted like snow, and then all the negative effects disappeared. It was as if time had stopped. The two rotting race deities' pupils were trembling, and they didn't speak for a long time. They knew that Primus Cherry Deity was dead. He was killed by a junior of a higher deity. That finger was so terrifying that they probably wouldn't be able to erase it. World will host Lin Ling. They shouted one after another. The Yellow Emperor also looked at Lin Ling in shock. This was the first time he saw Lin Ling use this move, but he didn't expect it to be so terrifying. Come back. However, at this time, a figure suddenly appeared in the valley from before. The figure was illusory and looked at everyone indifferently. What was surprising was that this person was a pale-faced scholar. He wore a white robe and looked very clean, giving off a pure and straightforward feeling. Rotting deity. The two deities bowed and quickly flew back to the valley. The Yellow Emperor didn't stop them. Instead, he looked at the pale-faced scholar seriously. This was the legendary number 1 ancient race of the universe, the rotting deity. Lin Ling's growth is indeed fast. Chapter 49-71. So powerful. Could he be one of the 9 universe stars? Yes. Lin Ling was still in his giant form, and his eyes were flickering. He had already seen 3 universe stars, and as the host body of the world's will, he had the feeling that he was an innate being. Similarly, Lei Gong and the others felt the same. They felt uncomfortable all over. The Tao child they met on the first level had the same feeling, but it wasn't very strong. For a moment, the world was silent. All the gods were silent, but they felt as if they had just survived a disaster. Thinking back to everything that had happened, they sighed. In the beginning, Emperor Jun and Emperor Shun had tricked them into coming here. Then, they were trapped in the swamp and almost died. With the cooperation of all the gods, they finally survived the disaster. But who would have thought that more powerful beings from the rotten race would come, and in the end, they even sent the rotten god. If it weren't for the Yellow Emperor and Lin Ling, we would have died. Everyone was muttering to themselves. Lin Ling. At this moment, the Yellow Emperor flew back with Lin Ling and appeared in front of Emperor Yao and the others, looking at them indifferently. Everyone took a step forward and arrived in front of Emperor Yao, looking at him coldly. Emperor Yao gritted his teeth, his face incomparably cold. His heart was filled with unwillingness. Almost, just a little bit more. Why was the heavens playing with him? Every time, he almost saw Lin Ling die. He could wash away the blood feud, but every time, something unexpected happened, Lin Ling would escape the calamity and turn the situation around in the end. Emperor Yao, what else do you have to say? Seeing that no one was speaking, Lin Ling was the first to speak. Emperor Yao immediately looked at Lin Ling, his eyes flickering. Humph, a mere lowly god dares to fight against the rotten race. Emperor Yao didn't speak, but a rotten race god beside him immediately shouted coldly. This guy really didn't shed tears until he saw the coffin. He didn't see the rotten god appear, but he still left helplessly. Did he really think that this was the rotten race's home? Die! The Yellow Emperor coldly spat out. With a flick of his finger, a powerful divine energy pierced through the deity's forehead. Then, something strange happened. Starting from the head, the god was like sand and water. He was constantly battered and gradually disappeared from the second level. Who dares to speak? The Yellow Emperor stared at the remaining decaying gods. Yellow Emperor, you have offended the rotten god. You can't go any further in the Tao Pagoda, you can only leave forever. Another rotten race god spoke, but his tone was not as arrogant as before. Perhaps it was because he no longer dared to be arrogant. What are you trying to say? The Yellow Emperor looked at him with interest. Let us go. Perhaps, there will still be a chance to turn things around. That god said. Die. As soon as the Yellow Emperor finished speaking, he flicked his finger and drowned the god with the river water again. Ah! The remaining 3 gods finally shuddered at this moment. Are you idiots? Since I have offended the rotten god, do you think the rotten god will let me go if I don't kill you? Also, you think too highly of yourselves. If I let you go, do you think the rotten god will let us go for your sake? The Yellow Emperor said with disdain. With another flick of his finger, he killed several more rotten race gods. Spare me, spare me. The last remaining rotten race god knelt down in midair. Ha ha ha. Seeing this scene, everyone laughed out loud. These ancient races were so arrogant that even in death, they had never lowered their noble heads. This led everyone to think that these ancient races were born so arrogant that they did not fear death. But now, it seemed that every ancient race had someone who was afraid of death. You. The kneeling deity had an ugly expression, but he gritted his teeth and continued to beg for mercy. He naturally knew that these people were laughing at him, but his life was more important. Begging for mercy. I thought you would always have a strong backbone. The Yellow Emperor shook his head. Unfortunately, you still have to die. With a flick of his finger, the last rotten race god died. You are all dead. That deity was continuously washed away by the river and gradually disappeared, but he still roared before he died. Unfortunately, no one took this threat to heart. Emperor Yao, you are the only one left. The Yellow Emperor looked at the last deity. Emperor Shun witnessed the death of a rotten race god with his own eyes, but he seemed to be unfazed by death, indifferent to it. Perhaps he knew that it was useless to beg for mercy now that it had come to this. Yellow Emperor, I didn't lose to you. I lost to Lin Ling. If not for him, you would have lost to me long ago, and I would be the strongest of the 5 emperors. Emperor Yao was silent for a long time before he finally spoke. The Yellow Emperor's eyes flashed, and he nodded. Indeed. However, from what I know, it's not that you didn't have the chance to recruit Lin Ling, but that you missed it. He was very clear that if not for Lin Ling's sudden appearance in the battle for the blood-stained Tai Sui in the valley, the Yellow Emperor would have won. The final winner might have been Emperor Yao. Emperor Yao would have been able to use the blood-stained Tai Sui to become a Saint Universe god. The eyes of the others flashed, and they agreed with Emperor Yao. Especially Emperor Yao. She was also present at that time, so she naturally had the most right to speak. Yes, I missed it. Emperor Yao nodded and looked at Lin Ling. Truthfully, it was a lie that he didn't regret it. He regretted it more than anyone else.